Chapter 698. What was Lu Ping's greatest gain in the Yingtian dojo? It wasn't the Thunder Tribulation spiritual treasure, the Ling Long wine cauldron, nor was it the heaven-ranked upper-grade Thunder Tribulation water. Furthermore, it wasn't the large number of Yingtian faction's legacy manuals, which included several complete sets of legacy manuals, as well as the 2 sets of legacy manuals that Jinling had obtained that led directly to the quintessential path. However, in reality, Lu Ping had obtained 3 sets of Yingtian faction's legacy manuals. 2 of them were brought back by Jiang Tianlin Laozu, while the one that he had obtained was included in Lu Ping's greatest gain in the Yingtian dojo. That was the legacy of Yingtian faction's Fei Tian Laozu, who had achieved the pure Yang Dharma and was only 1 step away from becoming a quintessential soul. Fei Tian Laozu's legacy was not only the pure Yang soul, but also everything that Fei Tian Laozu had seen and heard throughout his life in the cultivation world. Furthermore, it was the Yingtian faction's Agile Ape Moving Mountain technique that Fei Tian Laozu had cultivated. Yingtian faction's 4 great legacy techniques, other than Fei Tian Laozu's legacy which contained the Agile Ape Moving Mountain technique, there were 4 legacy manuals placed in each of the 4 directions of the Yingtian dojo's central grotto Heaven Hill, which also contained the Agile Ape Moving Mountain technique. Unfortunately, after Lu Ping had come out, he had obtained one of the legacy manuals, and then Jiang Tianlin Laozu had obtained another. Neither of these 2 manuals was the Agile Ape Moving Mountain technique. If Lu Ping's guess was correct, the other Agile Ape Moving Mountain technique should have fallen into the hands of the Blue Sea sect. Du Jialua followed De Bao into the rocky cave. After meeting Lu Ping, he heard Lu Ping ask, "Do you know why I have summoned you here today?" Du Jialua thought for a moment and said, "I heard from enlightened Master Lu that you are here for my cultivation technique?" Lu Ping nodded and said, "Now that you've entered the blood condensation realm, according to the sect's rules, you can officially become an inner disciple and have the right to choose the sect's heritage cultivation technique. Although the Celestial Academy follows the sect's rules, other than you, the other disciples don't know that the Celestial Academy is actually the outer hall of the sect. Only those who have reached the mid and late blood condensation realm and become a core forging cultivator's direct disciple are qualified to know the sect's location." Lu Ping paused for a moment, then continued, "The reason I told you all this is to tell you not to speak too much about Jinling's sect and North Sea's cultivation world to anyone else. Even the outer disciples and guest cultivators of Immortal Academy are not allowed to mention half a word about it." However, from what Lu Ping had said, it was obvious that Du Jialua had always been under Lu Ping's attention. Furthermore, Du Jialua was able to get a cultivation technique from Lu Ping. Although Du Jialua's cultivation was low and his knowledge was shallow, he knew that this was a rare opportunity for him. When Lu Ping saw that Du Jialua understood what he meant, he said, "Relax your mind. I will teach you this technique." As soon as Lu Ping finished speaking, his powerful divine sense instantly squeezed Du Jialua to the point where he found it difficult to breathe. At this time, Lu Ping's divine sense had increased significantly after he entered the core forging realm. It was even comparable to Jiang Tianlin's and Laozu's divine sense. How could Du Jialua, who had just entered the blood condensation realm, withstand the full force of his divine sense? Fortunately, after a moment of panic, Du Jialua knew that Lu Ping wouldn't and didn't need to do anything to him. So, he opened his mind and released his divine sense, which was born after he entered the blood condensation realm. Immediately, he felt a mysterious thought exploding in his mind. It was as if thousands of brushes were splashing ink on a large piece of paper. In just a few moments, countless beautiful writings were imprinted in his mind. In the face of such a huge inheritance, Du Jialua's newly born divine sense was like a fish that had fallen into the ocean. In an instant, he was lost in the world of cultivation. He could not find his way back to reality. After Lu Ping taught Du Jialua the cultivation method before the avatar realm that the Fei Tian ancestor had left for him, he noticed that Du Jialua was still absorbing the huge amount of information and couldn't wake up at all. Lu Ping smiled and closed his eyes to meditate on the stone platform. After an unknown amount of time, Du Jialua finally recovered from the huge inheritance. His face was filled with excitement and shock. He hurriedly bowed to Lu Ping. "Thank you, Uncle Master, for teaching me the cultivation method. You don't have to do this. The cultivation method I taught you is not complete. This is also due to the sect's rules. Only when you enter the late blood condensation realm and become a disciple of a core forging realm cultivator will you be able to receive the complete inheritance." Du Jialuo's expression darkened slightly. However, he quickly gathered his courage and said, "I wonder if I can become a disciple of Uncle Master." This disciple was taken in by Martial Uncle in the beginning, and only then did I have the chance to activate my own bloodline, enter this sect, enter Immortal Academy to cultivate. The accomplishments this disciple has today are all thanks to Martial Uncle. I must ask Martial Uncle to take me in. This disciple will definitely diligently cultivate, won't make Martial Uncle lose face. Lu Ping snorted coldly. Achievements? You've only just entered the blood condensation realm and you're saying that you have achievements? What a joke. Although our sect's disciples have the qualifications to become true disciples under our sect's core forging realm cultivators after advancing to the late stage of the blood condensation realm, the truth is that 80% to 90% of these disciples can only become in-name disciples. Very few of them can become true disciples. You're still too far away from becoming a true disciple. Du Jialua hurriedly said, "Uncle Master is right. I was too ambitious. I will definitely remember Uncle Master's words and cultivate diligently. When I reach the mid-blood condensation realm, I will come and pay my respects to Uncle Master." Lu Ping did not comment on Du Jialua's words. Instead, he said, "The cultivation technique you're cultivating is very important. It's one of the few inherited techniques of the Yingtian sect. Although you have my protection, it's easier to dodge a spear in the open than an arrow in the dark. It's better not to reveal it to anyone. If anyone asks, just give them an earth attribute cultivation technique of the Yingtian sect." Seeing that Du Jialua still had more questions to ask, Lu Ping said, "All right, after a while, go and see enlightened Master Lu Xianyuan. Ask him to bring you to the Celestial Academy's scripture pavilion. Pick one of the cultivation techniques there and use it as a cover." Du Jialua was brought to the top of the cliff by Lu Qiner. From afar, he saw the skinny cultivator he saw at the entrance of the True Spirit Hall standing outside the spiritual herb garden. He seemed to have been blocked by the Peach Blossom Fairy and was walking around in a forest. The cultivator seemed to have noticed something was wrong. He shouted, "Disciple Tianyu wishes to pay his respects to Uncle Master Xianping. Please let me out, Senior." The cultivator shouted several times in a row but received no response. Instead, his expression calmed down and he sat down cross-legged to meditate. Every once in a while, he would get up and shout again, requesting to see Taoist Master Xianping. Du Jialua turned his head and looked at Lu Qiner, who brought him up. Lu Qiner smiled and said, "Oh, so this kid is here too. He actually knows that Big Brother is in closed-door cultivation here." This kid was also someone that Big Brother thought highly of in the past. Let me help him inform Big Brother. But seeing that he was so reckless and fell into little sister Peach Blossom's trap, let him learn a lesson. Du Jialua turned his head and pretended that he didn't hear anything just now. After leaving the forest, Du Jialua didn't see the Peach Blossom fairy-like little girl again. However, he saw the cultivator called Tianyu who was trapped next to her. Obviously, the little girl was nearby. It was just that Du Jialua couldn't find her with his cultivation. Chapter 699. Ever since Water Sword Immortal Lu Xianping became famous, countless disciples in the North Sea, especially in Jinling, wanted to join Soundwave Manor. However, spiritual master Lu Xianping was a mysterious existence in Jinling. Even some of his close friends and elders who wanted to introduce disciples to him were unable to do so. When Tianyu found out from Master Xian Fang that spiritual master Lu Xianping was in Immortal Academy and that the elder who had always been in seclusion was very likely to be spiritual master Lu Xianping, Tianyu immediately rushed to the True Spirit Hall to visit spiritual master Lu Xianyuan. He wanted to get some pointers from Spiritual Master Lu and then pay his respects to Spiritual Master Lu Xianping. Tian Yu was slightly looking forward to it. He knew that he and Wang Qi were the rare fourth-generation disciples who received pointers from Spiritual Master Lu Xianping. Putting aside Wang Qi, Tian Yu could tell Sage Xuanping's status in the Pill Pavilion from the time he entered the Pill Pavilion with the token that Sage Xianping had bestowed upon him. The proud and arrogant Pill Refinement Masters and even Pill Refinement Masters in the Pill Pavilion were shocked, and they saw the token in his hand and looked at him with a strange gaze. Tian Yu could tell Sage Xuanping's status in the Pill Pavilion. As expected, Tian Yu gained a lot in the following years in the Pill Pavilion. Whenever he encountered bottlenecks or difficulties, there would always be senior cultivators from the Pill Pavilion who would step forward to give him pointers. Almost all of his requests would be answered. Among the senior cultivators, the Pill Refinement Grandmaster Sage Xian Fang was the one who helped him the most. Especially in the 2 years before he came to Yingshan Immortal Academy, Tian Yu could feel that the senior cultivators in the Pill Pavilion seemed to be more respectful towards him. However, Tian Yu was not stupid. He knew that the senior cultivators in the Pill Pavilion probably treated him well because of the token in his hand. As expected, a piece of exciting news spread in the Pill Pavilion. After the sect's Spiritual Master Lu Xianping advanced to the late stage of core forging, his pill refinement skills also improved by leaps and bounds. He had already become the sect's third Pill Refinement Master. No wonder, Tian Yu had just stood up and was about to call out to pay his respects to Spiritual Master Lu Xianping again when he saw the dense forest in front of him suddenly collapse to the sides, as if some giant hand was rushing towards him. Even though Tian Yu knew that this was Immortal Academy's rear mountain, that there wouldn't be much danger, at this moment, his heart still couldn't help but pound crazily. Even though his expression remained calm with difficulty, his tightly clenched fists were about to release sweat. A gigantic sea turtle suddenly appeared in front of Tian Yu. As the gigantic sea turtle crawled over, the trees on both sides that were hundreds of feet tall were crushed into pieces. Tian Yu raised his head to look at the giant tortoise that was as large as a mountain. His heart was filled with fear, and his face had already turned pale. However, Tian Yu heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He knew that Sage Xianping had a black tortoise as his spiritual pet. He had seen this black tortoise when Huangli Island was attacked by the demon clan. However, he didn't know when this black tortoise had grown to such a large size. Could it be that Sage Xianping had subdued a Dharma stage black tortoise? This thought flashed past Tian Yu's mind, but he quickly dismissed it. When he first met Xianling, it was only a blood condensation realm beast. Now, only a few years had passed. Could it be that this black tortoise had already grown to the Dharma realm? At this moment, he suddenly heard the black tortoise say, "Peach Blossom Girl, please put away the illusory array. Master has something to tell this kid." Tian Yu's heart skipped a beat. So it was an illusory array. No wonder the disciples of Immortal Academy said that they had encountered a ghostly wall when they mistakenly entered the forbidden area. Although there were many trees on the rear mountain, they were far from forming a forest. How could there be a ghostly wall? Now, Tian Yu finally understood that those disciples were trapped in an illusory realm. That was why he felt like he was surrounded by a forest that was hundreds of feet tall. As soon as the black tortoise's voice fell, Tian Yu felt as if he had suddenly become taller and taller. The black tortoise in front of him, which was like a mountain that pressed down on him, was constantly lowering and shrinking at the same time. Tian Yu was surprised. Only then did he realize that the trees around him, which seemed to be hundreds of feet tall, were actually flowers and plants that were more than 2 feet tall on the ground. Although the huge black tortoise was shrinking, it was still 30 feet long and half a foot tall. Tian Yu instinctively looked around. He could vaguely make out the silhouette of a little girl flashing through the forest before disappearing. When he turned to look at the black tortoise again, he saw that the black tortoise's body had transformed and a beefy and honest-looking young cultivator appeared before Tian Yu. Tian Yu didn't dare to neglect him. He quickly bowed and said, "Greetings, Senior. Are you immortal, Dague? Dague nodded with a smile, took out 3 jade slips, and handed them to Tianyu. Although Tianyu was puzzled, he hurriedly took them with both hands and looked at Lu Dague with a puzzled look. Lu Dague touched his head and said, "Master said that you don't have to greet him first. However, Master asked me to give you these 3 jade slips with the pill recipes. He said that if you can successfully refine these 3 pills before you advance to the core forging stage, you can become a disciple of Hearing Wave Mansion." After hearing this, Tianyu's hands trembled, and he almost threw the 3 jade slips to the ground. For so many years, although Tianyu had always been taken care of by Immortal Xianping had never accepted a disciple. Even if Tianyu thought that he and Wang Qi were the most likely candidates among Jinling to become disciples of Hearing Wave Mansion, the wait was too long. It was so long that Tianyu didn't really believe that he was qualified to become a disciple of Immortal Xianping. Now that Immortal Dague had finally given him a promise from Immortal Xianping, Immortal Tianyu was immediately overjoyed. At this moment, Tianyu suddenly felt that all his persistence over the years, all the jealousy, ridicule, disdain, coldness, and slander he had faced in the Pill Pavilion all these years, had turned into nothing at this moment. All of this was worth it. Tianyu shouted excitedly in his heart. Dague looked at the excited young man in front of him. When he first saw him on Huangli Island, he was still a timid minor repairs cultivator who was interested in cultivating spiritual herbs and refining pills. Now, he had won the favor of Master and had the opportunity to become a disciple of Master. Even Dague felt a little envious. However, Dague also knew that as Lu Ping's spiritual pet, Dague was the same as other spiritual pets. He wasn't restricted by any secret techniques like divine sense shackles. Moreover, Dague's current cultivation achievements were inseparable from Lu Ping's meticulous planning. From this point of view, although Lu Dague and the others were spiritual pets, they were actually no different from Lu Ping's disciples. Tianyu couldn't wait to use his divine sense to explore the contents of the jade slips. However, after seeing the specific contents of the 3 pill recipes, Tianyu's expression suddenly changed. Essence Expanding Pill, Meridian Strengthening Pill, and Pure Blood Pill. These 3 pills were one of the best half-step core forging pills in the Pill Pavilion of Jinling. For late blood condensation cultivators, these 3 pills could increase their chances of advancing to the core forging realm by 30%. They were the 3 best pills for blood condensation cultivators to strengthen their foundation and prepare for advancing to the core forging realm. Tianyu had been practicing alchemy in the Pill Pavilion for many years. Naturally, he had heard of these 3 pills. However, according to the people in the Pill Pavilion, only enlightened Master Xianping knew the pill recipes for these 3 pills. It seemed that enlightened Master Xianping had obtained these 3 pills from the East Sea Alchemist Conference as a reward for his superb alchemy skills. Tianyu didn't expect that enlightened Master Xianping would pass on such a precious pill recipe to him. At the same time, his heart sank. These 3 pills were not easy to concoct. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they were the 3 most difficult pills to concoct in the blood condensation realm. No wonder enlightened Master Xianping said that as long as he could successfully concoct these 3 pills before advancing to the core forging realm, he would accept him as his disciple. In the rocky cave, Lu Ping, who was meditating, opened his eyes and saw the void 2 feet in front of him suddenly rippling like water. Lu Ping stared intently at the void and saw a sword suddenly appear from the rippling void. Then, the void returned to its original calmness. Lu Ping took the magic sword and scanned it with his divine sense. Then, the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. He whispered, "Changhe Laozu. That's an acquaintance. I was going out for a walk, but now it's on the way." Several hundred miles southeast of Yingshan Immortal Academy, 3 outer sect core forging realm guest chamberlains were facing off against 2 late core forging realm cultivators. Behind these guest chamberlains were several blood refining and blood condensation realm disciples lying on the ground. Clearly, they were all heavily injured. This is Yingshan Immortal Academy's territory. Aren't you afraid of being punished by our sect for wantonly injuring our disciples? A sixth-layer core forging realm guest elder, who was clearly the leader, questioned the two late core forging realm cultivators in a stern voice. However, the other side had two late core forging realm cultivators. One was at the 7th layer core forging realm, while the other was at the 8th layer core forging realm. Their strength far surpassed the 3 mid-stage core forging realm cultivators from Yingshan Immortal Academy. Thus, this guest elder's tone was a bit fierce. Yingshan Immortal Academy? What a joke! Since when did Yingshan Mountain Range have such a sect? We only know that there were only 3 sects in Yingshan, Yinghe, Dao Universe, and Yingshan. Now, Dao Universe sect and Yingshan sect have merged to form the Mountain Universe sect. The sect master is Yushang Laozu, and our Long River Laozu has also returned to Yingshan Mountain Range. This place was originally within the Yinghe sect's territory. We are merely stopping you from entering our sect's territory. This Yingshan Mountain Range is still under the control of our 3 sections. The 6th layer core forging realm guest elder sneered and said, Long River Laozu. Why don't you say Yinghe sect? Right now, every cultivator near the northern ice plains knows that Long River Laozu has already joined the Gu family. Because of this, they did nothing when Yingshan sect's 5 blessings Laozu fell into the Azura's encirclement. In the end, it led to 5 blessings Laozu's death. This also caused the remaining disciples of Yingshan sect to follow Yushang Laozu into the Dao Universe sect and re-established the Mountain Universe sect. Since Long River Laozu has already become an elder of the Gu family, he naturally cannot be considered the sect master of the Yinghe sect. In that case, this spiritual herb garden naturally does not belong to your Gu family. Chapter 700. The guest chamberlain's words seemed to have hit the sore spot of the 2 late-stage core forging sect disciples. After the Yingshan Mountain Range was ravaged by the Shura and Xiuma cultivators, the 3 sects' Dao sites were all destroyed. They followed Long River Laozu and abandoned the Yingshan sect's 4,000 years of inheritance to join the Gu clan, becoming the Gu clan's outer sect. What they hated the most was outsiders saying that they had forgotten their roots. This time, Long River Laozu had returned to the Yingshan Mountain Range as a representative of the Gu clan to expand their territory. However, they discovered that all sorts of factions had sprung up in the mountain range. Among them, the Yingshan Immortal Academy was developing the fastest. It was even rumored that the academy had Fa Xiang Laozu overseeing it. This time, the 2 of them had come with the intention of testing the waters. They wanted to see how strong the Yingshan Immortal Academy was. They had reinforcements supporting them. Even if the Yingshan Immortal Academy really had a Dharma characteristic ancestor, they would not be afraid. However, after the 2 of them casually found an excuse to injure a few herb-gathering disciples from the Yingshan Immortal Academy, they did not see any high-level cultivators from the Yingshan Immortal Academy. Instead, a few outer sect chamberlains rushed over and pointed out their past. Moreover, among the 3 cultivators in front of them, the highest cultivation was only at the 6th stage of core forging. The other 2 had just advanced to the 4th stage of core forging. This made the 2 of them feel as if their dignity as late-stage core forging experts had been greatly insulted. The 7th stage core forging cultivator attacked first, using a Dao technique to attack the 3 people. This was the technique he was proud of, and it was most suited for group battles. In his opinion, he could deal with the 3 core forging guest chamberlains from the Yingshan Immortal Academy by himself. The leading guest chamberlain from the Yingshan Immortal Academy saw that his opponent was going to kill them the moment he attacked. His expression instantly changed, and he hurriedly joined forces with the other 2 guest chamberlains to defend. However, all 3 of them were loose cultivators. Being able to increase their cultivation to this level was already their limit. How much time and energy did they have to cultivate offensive techniques? This was the sorrow of individual cultivators. Perhaps they had spent far more time and energy than the disciples of the sects to increase their cultivation to the same level, but they did not have powerful killing and defensive skills. Compared to the disciples of the sects of the same level who had the inheritance of the system, their strength was a notch lower for no reason. This was also the reason why the three of them were willing to join the Yingshan Immortal Academy. If they wanted to improve further and obtain a more systematic inheritance, they could only join a sect. However, how could the large sects think highly of them and trust them? Hence, they could only find some sects that were weaker but had a complete inheritance and had the potential to develop. They hoped that they could obtain an important inheritance that could allow them to improve further. 3 consecutive explosions rang out, and the 2 guests who had just advanced to the mid-core forging stage immediately spat out mouthfuls of blood and fell to the ground far away. The 6th layer guest flew back several feet in the air before he managed to stabilize his body. However, his complexion was already pale. It was obvious that even though this attack didn't injure him, it had consumed a lot of his true essence. Humph. You dare to speak so arrogantly with just this level of strength? Since that's the case, the 3 of you can die. The 7th stage core forging cultivator from the Surplus River sect took a few steps forward and once again arrived in front of the 3 guest chamberlains. He pressed his right palm down slightly and an oppressive pressure appeared in the air. The 3 guest chamberlains felt the pressure on their chests increase greatly. In just a moment, the 3 of them would probably suffocate to death. At this moment, the 6th stage core forging guest chamberlain gritted his teeth. His body suddenly leaped up under the immense pressure. When he landed, he was already in front of the unconscious disciples from the Immortal Academy. He used a defensive treasure to protect them from the other party's divine ability. Meanwhile, his mouth and nose were bleeding from the other party's divine ability. The other 2 guest chamberlains from the Immortal Academy had already fainted. At this moment, he could no longer care about his 2 companions. You still remember to work for the Yingshan Immortal Academy even when you're about to die. How many benefits has the Immortal Academy given you? It's rare to find a weirdo like you among rogue cultivators. Since you're willing to be a trustworthy person, I'll fulfill your wish. A ball of scarlet blood light suddenly appeared in the other party's palm. It whistled through the air towards the guest chamberlain's chest. At this moment, the guest chamberlain had already been completely suppressed by the other party's divine ability. It was already extremely difficult for him to dodge. Moreover, there were still a few herb-gathering disciples from the Immortal Academy behind him. These were all late-stage blood-refining disciples and those who had just entered the blood condensation realm. Amidst the loud bang, the guest chamberlain who originally thought that he was going to die opened his eyes in shock. He saw that there was an illusory forest in front of him that completely blocked the ball of blood light. Myriadwood Forest. Is Elder Xiantian here? The guest chamberlain ignored his injuries and shouted in surprise. He had made the right bet this time. If he didn't die, he would definitely be able to gain the trust of the higher-ups from the Immortal Academy. If he could receive help from the Immortal Academy and make up for his cultivation method, he might be able to break through the shackles of the mid-core forging realm and advance to the late-core forging realm. As for the materialization realm, he didn't dare to think about it. When the 7th level core forging cultivator saw that the innate divine ability he had just cultivated after advancing to the late core forging realm was so easily blocked, his expression changed. When he looked up, he saw a cultivator in his 30s riding a streak of light that landed in front of the heavily injured guest chamberlain. You're Yingshan Immortal Academy's Xiantian. I heard that you've recently become quite famous in the Yingshan mountain range. Even an 8th level core forging cultivator is no match for you. The 7th layer core forging cultivator glanced back at his comrade and asked with a serious expression. Master Xiantian also looked back at the 8th level core forging cultivator and handed a bottle of pills to the guest chamberlain who was struggling to get up from the ground. He said, if it weren't for fellow Taoist Li and the other 2 fellow Taoists risking their lives, my sect's disciples would have met with misfortune. This bottle of pills is one of the best healing pills from the Immortal Academy. Fellow Taoist should first take it to stabilize your injuries and then save the other 2 fellow Taoists. Guest Li smiled bitterly. I'm ashamed. The 3 of us are too weak. If it weren't for Elder Xuantian's timely arrival, I fear the three of us would have fallen as well. When the 7th level core forging cultivator saw that Master Xian Tian treated him as if he didn't exist, he immediately became furious. Although he had some understanding of Master Xian Tian's strength, when he saw that Master Xian Tian was only at the 7th level of core forging like him, he thought to himself, no matter how strong you are, how much stronger can you be? Thus, he didn't say anything to his companions behind him and took the initiative to condense a ball of bloody light that shot towards Master Xian Tian. Taoist Master Xian Tian abruptly turned his head and 12 log thorns shot out from the ground, stabbing towards the cultivators who were caught off guard. At some unknown time, Master Xian Tian had already set up a trap on the ground, as if he had already predicted that the other party would attack. The moment the 7th level core forging cultivator made his move, the 8th level core forging cultivator behind him felt his heart skip a beat. He shouted, "Junior Martial Brother Wang, be careful." His figure flickered, wanting to rush forward to help. However, at this time, Taoist Master Xiantian had already launched an attack. Junior Martial Brother Wang, who was at the 7th layer of core forging, tried his best to dodge and at the same time retracted his innate magical ability to block the log thorns shooting from different directions. Master Xian Tian had been a 6th level core forging cultivator for nearly 100 years. After he found a suitable high-grade Earth Step Spirit item to advance to the late core forging stage, it was finally time for his accumulation to explode. Taoist Master Xiantian was also a 7th layer core forging cultivator. Taoist Master Xuantian's 12 life essence magic treasures, log thorns, attacked together. Taoist Master Xiantian was only able to block 3 thorns, and then he tried his best to avoid the other 4. Immediately after, the 8th layer core forging cultivator behind him summoned his magic treasure to help him block 3 thorns. However, the remaining 2 thorns pierced through his shoulder and left a hole in his thigh. In an instant, the situation reversed. Master Xian Tian had severely injured a cultivator with a similar cultivation level as him. The 8th level core forging cultivator behind him was shocked and angry. He shouted, "Scoundrel, you dare!" Following the cultivator's roar, a pair of wing-like magic treasures slashed towards Taoist Xiantian. Junior Martial Brother Wang fell to the ground. He flicked his fingers on his body to stop the bleeding. He raised his head to look at Taoist Master Xian Tian, who was fighting with the 8th stage core forging cultivator. "Senior Martial Brother Jianming, this person must die." After saying that, he said to enlightened Xian Tian, "Did you think that we came here today just to provoke you? We already predicted that you, Xian Tian, would definitely appear. It's a pity that although Yingshan Immortal Academy's reputation is not small, they only have a late-stage core forging cultivator to put out the fire. Today will be the day you die." Master Xian Tian was shocked. This was a trap to kill him. Then, he saw Junior Martial Brother Wang take out a talisman-like object and raise it into the sky. Although Master Xian Tian wanted to stop him, Master Jianming suddenly exerted force and firmly entangled him. Master Xian Tian reckoned that he might not lose to this 8th level core forging cultivator in a one-on-one fight, but he wouldn't be able to defeat him in a short time. At this moment, the talisman in the sky suddenly broke apart, turning into 3 dark green threads that shot in different directions. Then, 3 long whistles sounded. 3 auras that far surpassed Master Xian Tian's came from 3 different directions, clearly forming an encirclement towards Master Xian Tian. Master Xian Tian's 12 wooden thorns turned into 2, 2 into 4, instantly filling the sky with wooden thorns that shot towards Master Jianming. Master Jianming sneered. He was about to dodge the attack from the front and block it from the other side, but he saw many wooden thorns change direction and shoot towards Junior Martial Brother Wang behind him. Master Jianming roared angrily. He had no choice but to turn around to protect Junior Martial Brother Wang, who couldn't move easily. Master Xian Tian took advantage of the gap between Master Jianming's attack and turned to guest elderly in the distance. "Take the disciples and the other 2 guests and leave this place. The other side's reinforcements will arrive soon." I'll cover your retreat. Guest Elder Li knew that if they stayed, they would only be a burden to Elder Xian Tian. Only if they escaped would they be able to return to Immortal Academy and call for reinforcements. You want to call for reinforcements? Junior brother Wang said fiercely, the only person who can save you now is that Dharma adept of yours. However, do you think that we do not have the confidence to set up a trap and kill you so close to your sect? Chapter 701. 3 rays of light streaked across the sky, surrounding Daoist Xiantian in the middle. Daoist Xiantian and Jianming had already separated. Jianming retreated to Junior Martial Brother Wang, protecting him behind him. Seeing Junior Martial Brother Wang sneer behind Daoist Jianming, Daoist Xiantian turned to look at the other late-stage core forging cultivators. Daoist Xiantian frowned, then laughed. The Yinghe sect's dojo was destroyed and less than 10% of its disciples survived. It's impossible for 5 late-stage core forging cultivators to appear at once. 3 of you must be from the Gu clan. It seems that Changhe Laozu has really joined the Gu clan, but it seems that the Gu clan doesn't trust Changhe Laozu too much. Zhenren Jianming's face darkened. He scoffed and said, don't try to sow discord. The reason we set this up today is to surround and kill you. It's also to give the Dharma adepts behind you a warning. If the sects you've established leaving mountain, then so be it. Otherwise, today's incident will repeat itself again and again until your adepts become a loner. Reverend Jianming's words caused Reverend Xuantian's expression to change. Reverend Jianming's words were very clear. With old ancestor Guo Tianshan's abilities, it was impossible for anything that happened here to escape his notice at such a close distance from the Yingshan Immortal Academy. However, they still dared to openly surround him. Clearly, it was because old ancestor Guo Tianshan was being held back by someone else. When Junior Martial Brother Wang saw Daoist Xuantian's expression change, he laughed sinisterly. Do you understand now? But it's too late. With that, he turned to the 3 people surrounding Daoist Xiantian and said, Brother Gu, please help us kill this person. The 3 people silently nodded. 3 magic treasures revolved around them, forming a simple array formation that shot towards Daoist Xiantian. Daoist Master Xuantian's strength could be considered top-notch among cultivators of the same level, and he could even compete with ordinary 8th-layer core forging cultivators. However, the cultivation bases of the 3 opponents were all at least 8th-layer core forging cultivators. Moreover, the auras emanating from their bodies were like billowing waves. Clearly, they were not mediocre among 8th-layer core forging cultivators. Even Daoist Master Xiantian would find it difficult to deal with such a person, but now there were 3 of them. Furthermore, there was also Daoist Jianming, who was also at the 8th stage of core forging. Daoist Master Xuantian's heart sank bit by bit. 6 of the 12 log thorns pierced into the ground and disappeared, while the remaining 6 circled around Daoist Master Xiantian to protect him. This was a dead end, but how could Xiantian Zhenren be willing to give up? The leader of the 3 Gu clan cultivators sneered disdainfully and said, it's just a struggle of a cornered beast. As soon as he finished speaking, a series of crisp sounds rang out. 6 log thorns suddenly pierced out from the ground, attacking the 3 separately. However, the 3 cultivators from the Gu family were already prepared. Although the power of Daoist Master Xuantian's 6 log thorns surprised the 3 of them, the Gu family cultivators were not weak. Not to mention, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Even if Daoist Master Xiantian managed to seize the initiative, the 3 of them still managed to suppress him and counterattack at the same time. With just 1 strike, 3 of the remaining 6 log thorns around Daoist Master Xiantian were knocked away, one of his wooden shields cracked, and his protective astral energy was on the verge of collapse. Junior Brother Wang was shocked that Daoist Master Xiantian was able to withstand the combined attack of the 3 Gu clan cultivators, but he saw that Daoist Master Xiantian was clearly an arrow at the end of its flight. He continued to ridicule him, Xiantian, just give up. How can you be a match for the 3 Gu clan cultivators? If you resist stubbornly, you will die today. No one will be able to save you. Oh, what if I join in? A voice suddenly rang out nearby. The Gu clan cultivators, Daoist Jian Ming, and the others were surprised, but there was no trace of panic on their faces. It was obvious that the person who spoke was nearby. When they had chosen this place as the location for the trap, they had already scouted the surrounding area. Even with Dharma power Laozu hiding nearby, they still did not discover that someone had already snuck into the area without anyone knowing. However, it was precisely because the Gu clan cultivators, Daoist Jian Ming, and the others knew that Laozu was nearby that they did not show any signs of fear even though they were surprised. When Daoist Master Xiantian heard this person's voice, his face lit up with joy. However, when he saw the 5 late core forging adepts, the joy on his face disappeared without a trace. Especially the 3 Gu clan cultivators in front of him. They were clearly proficient in a combined attack technique. The power of this technique was similar to Jinling Tian Shui and Tian Fan, the 2 mid-Dharma adepts, joining forces to defeat Laozu. It was definitely not as simple as the combined strength of 3 late core forging adepts. A young man, who looked to be about 20 years old, suddenly appeared in the sky above the battle. This time, not only were the 3 Gu clan cultivators, Daoist Jian Ming, and the others shocked, even Daoist Master Xiantian revealed a look of surprise. If one were to say that this person was able to sneak into the battle without being discovered, then although his strength was amazing, it was only his ability to hide his tracks. But now, this person was clearly above the battle between the 2 sides. The unhindered divine techniques, the vibrations caused by the flying swords, and the danger caused by the magical weapons made it almost impossible for cultivators to hide their tracks. However, the truth was right in front of their eyes. Not only did this young cultivator succeed, if he did not reveal himself, it was likely that no one would be able to detect his presence. If that person did not take the initiative to speak, but instead suddenly attacked from above, then they would be caught off guard. The moment this person appeared, the 3 Gu clan cultivators retreated 10 feet together, expanding the encirclement once again. However, they still surrounded the person who just appeared, including Daoist Master Xiantian. At the same time, they discovered that the person who just appeared was only at the 8th layer of core forging. Excluding the injured junior brother Wang, they still had 4 8th layer core forging experts on their side. As such, what was there to be afraid of? Daoist Master Xiantian looked at the person above his head with a trace of astonishment. He could tell that the person who just spoke was Lu Ping. However, when this person appeared, Daoist Master Xiantian saw an unfamiliar face. This was somewhat thought-provoking. Why was junior brother Lu not willing to reveal his face in front of others? The person who just appeared was Lu Ping, who had rushed over after receiving Guo Tianshan's order from Laozu. Naturally, the expression on Daoist Master Xuantian's face did not escape his eyes. He looked meaningfully at the forest not far behind junior brother Wang and the others and said, "Senior brother, I'm not too late, am I?" Daoist Master Xiantian followed Lu Ping's gaze and did not see anything. However, he was a quick-witted person. Not seeing did not mean that he could not guess. Daoist Master Xiantian immediately remembered what Jiang Tianlin and Laozu had told him before he came to the Central Plains. At that time, when they escaped from the Yingtian Temple, they were ambushed by the Dharma adepts of the Gu family and the 3 factions of the Yingshan. Thus, it was obvious that these people had seen Lu Ping's face. At that time, the core forging adepts of the 3 factions who had participated in the encirclement of the North Sea adepts had all died under the surprise attack of the Shuma and Shura adepts. Only the Dharma adepts had survived. Furthermore, Lu Ping had deliberately hidden his face. Coupled with that meaningful gaze just now, Daoist Master Xuantian's Jr. immediately broke out in a cold sweat. The other party had a Dharma adept hidden among them. Lu Ping saw a flash of shock in Daoist Master Xuantian's eyes and knew that Daoist Master Xiantian had already understood what he meant. However, he smiled and said, "Senior brother, how about you let me have the 3 adepts of the Gu family?" Chapter 702. Each of the 6 sword techniques in the North Sea wave listening technique was extraordinary, but Lu Ping knew that at least 3 of the 6 techniques were more suitable for the twin flying swords. Ever since Lu Ping had entered the core forging stage, he had been looking for a set of twin flying swords. However, Lu Ping's standards were so high that an ordinary pair of flying swords would not catch his eye. It was only after he had obtained the flowing sword that he began to think about obtaining the thin water sword of the Shanghai sect. However, this set of flying swords was not to be underestimated. Even if Lu Ping had obtained it, he would not be able to use it until he reached the Dharma stage. After Jiang Tianlin Laozu found out that the flowing sword was in Lu Ping's hands, he had instructed Lu Ping not to reveal the whereabouts of this flying sword in the North Sea, especially in front of the Shanghai sect cultivators. Fortunately, ancestor Jiang Tianlin had given Lu Ping the charming autumn water twin swords as a reward. Of course, part of this was because of Lu Ping's selfishness. Although it wasn't as good as the thin water flowing sword, a pair of spirit-nurturing grade flying swords was more than enough to make Lu Ping ecstatic. No Xinling disciple would underestimate the power of a combined attack technique. However, to fight against the Gu clan's 3 heroes alone, besides Lu Ping's absolute confidence in his own abilities, the most important thing was that Lu Ping wanted to fight to his heart's content. The reason was simple. With a pair of spirit cultivation grade flying swords in hand, he was itching to fight. The 3 heroes of the Gu clan's 3 talents combined attack had once defeated 3 9th level core forging adepts. Although they had never fought against a Dharma adept before, the 3 heroes of the Gu clan had always believed that even if they were not a match for an early Dharma adept, they would still be able to withstand a few blows from a Dharma adept. Lu Ping brandished his faded autumn dew sword. Although the 3 of them were shocked by the spirit-nurturing grade treasure, it wasn't enough to make their expressions change. What truly caused the 3 of them to feel a trace of fear was the aura that erupted from Lu Ping's body in an instant, that kind of absolute spiritual pressure. This was something that the 3 heroes of the Gu clan could only sense from their Dharma idol, Laozu. However, the person in front of them was clearly at the 8th layer of core forging. The 3 heroes of the Gu clan didn't have much time to think. Lu Ping couldn't wait to show off his skills and see what level he had reached. Raging waves hitting the shore. Thousand snow heap sword art. Great river flows east. These 3 sets of sword techniques were executed by Lu Ping with ease. With Lu Ping's pair of flying swords, the sword techniques of each set were easily executed. Even the raging waves hitting the shore and the thousand snow heap sword art, with the faded autumn dew sword art and Lu Ping's mastery of swordsmanship, were no less powerful than the most powerful techniques. The raging waves hitting the shore was executed, and the pair of flying swords created wave after wave of waves that rushed towards the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. Although the 3 heroes of the Gu clan tried their best to execute their combined attack, they were still unable to trap Lu Ping within. When Lu Ping's sword techniques changed, and the thousand snow heap sword art was executed, the 3 heroes of the Gu clan were like an isolated island in the middle of the ocean. Monstrous waves surged from all directions, sweeping towards the island as if they wanted to completely bury it in the sea. At this time, it was no longer Lu Ping who was attacking the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. Instead, it was Lu Ping's pair of flying swords that had trapped the 3 heroes of the Gu clan in a constant struggle. Although junior martial brother Wang was assisting enlightened Jianming in his battle against enlightened Xiantian, his mind wasn't entirely focused on the battle between enlightened Jianming and enlightened Xiantian. From the beginning to the end, he had been observing the battle between Lu Ping and the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. To his heart's content. Junior martial brother Wang had actually experienced such a feeling from Lu Ping's swordsmanship. The sky was filled with the waves of swords created by Lu Ping's 2 swords. The 3 heroes of the Gu clan had previously surrounded Lu Ping, but now it was Lu Ping's 2 swords surrounding the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. At this time, the 3 heroes of the Gu clan could no longer care about the shock in their hearts. The 3 of them could only stand back to back and focus all of their attention on defending against the encirclement of Lu Ping's 2 swords. After Lu Ping consecutively executed 2 sets of swordsmanship, his heart was at ease. A surge of heroic spirit immediately burst forth from his heart, and he couldn't help but roar towards the sky. The sword wave that filled the sky suddenly turned into a monstrous wave of swords under Lu Ping's roar. The entire wave of swords seemed to suddenly become orderly. Although the attacks of the 1,000 snow heap sword art came from all directions and were clearly all-pervasive, it also scattered the offensive power of the flying swords. However, when the entire wave of swords became orderly, the pair of flying swords lost some of their nimbleness, but gained a boundless offensive power. The Great River Flows East was a true great swordsmanship technique. It was as if the Milky Way was collapsing, but the 3 heroes of the Gu clan could not even be a reef in the middle of the river. Under the powerful torrent of swordsmanship, the 3 heroes were like giant rocks that were constantly being battered. They had no choice but to be pushed again and again, but in the end, they were smashed into pieces. The 3 talents formation was finally unable to withstand the impact of Lu Ping's swordsmanship. The magical protection that the 3 heroes had formed together was forcefully cracked by Lu Ping from the front. It was like a dull hammer that directly hit the hearts of the 3 heroes. The 3 talents formation was first red, then white, and finally dark red. When the 3 heroes could no longer suppress the blood in their hearts, they spat out a mist of blood in front of them. Junior brother Wang, who was far away helping perfected Jianming besieging perfected Xiantian, finally could no longer suppress the fear in his heart. This person could not be at the 8th level of the core forging stage. This person must be a Dharma adept who had suppressed his aura to disguise himself. Senior brother Jianming, quickly use grandfather's talisman. This Yingshan immortal courtyard is sinister. This person must be a Dharma adept who has hidden his cultivation. We are definitely no match for him. Perfected Jianming was evenly matched with him because perfected Xiantian had suffered a blow from the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. He had already noticed that junior brother Wang was absent-minded when he was helping him. He had originally thought that it was because junior brother Wang had been injured earlier and was not strong enough. However, his shout made perfected Jianming regret bringing him out this time. If junior brother Wang could harden his heart and fight with all his might, perhaps he could also suppress perfected Xiantian. If he could defeat perfected Xiantian before the 3 heroes of the Gu clan were defeated, then the 2 of them could turn around and help the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. Perfected Xiantian, who had just appeared, might be defeated by the 5 of them together. However, this junior brother Wang had obviously placed all his hopes on others. He did not know that he had to fight for his own status. Even if the Yinghe sect had joined the Gu clan, they still had to show their worth in order to be valued. Did he not know that their actions could not escape the attention of perfected Jian Laozu? Indeed, just as junior brother Wang finished speaking, an angry snort sounded in Lu Ping's divine will. This cold snort seemed to contain a trace of resentment as it rang in junior brother Wang's ears. Ah! Junior brother Wang jumped out of the battle with perfected Xiantian in shock. He immediately reacted to the voice of his grandfather, Changhe Laozu. For a moment, junior brother Wang seemed to be at a loss as to what to do. Although junior brother Wang had not used his full strength, he was still at the 7th level of the core forging stage. He had more or less assisted perfected Jianming, which was why perfected Jianming had been able to maintain a stalemate with perfected Jianming. However, junior brother Wang's sudden retreat from the battle caused the pressure on perfected Jianming to multiply. In his heart, he had already cursed junior brother Wang, but on the surface, he looked helpless. Just as Changhe Laozu's sneak attack sounded in Lu Ping's divine will, Lu Ping seemed to be prepared. A portion of his divine will that he had hidden earlier suddenly exploded, forming an invisible divine will barrier around his body, blocking Changhe Laozu's divine will. However, Changhe Laozu was still at the peak of the early Dharma stage. Although he had been seriously injured in the battle against the Shura and the demonic Shuras, which had delayed his advancement to the mid-Dharma stage, the past 10 years of cultivation had made his peak Dharma stage seem even more experienced. When Chang He Laozu's cold snort sounded, the Gu clan's 3 heroes' gloomy faces finally showed some relief. Immediately, the 3 of them acted as if they had a tacit understanding and were about to counterattack. From their point of view, under the attack of Chang He Laozu's divine will, even if Lu Ping's divine will did not shatter, it would still be greatly damaged and his strength would drop. However, just as the 3 of them were about to rush forward and attack, they suddenly realized in shock that although Lu Ping's face was pale, there was a hint of mockery in the corner of his mouth. Without waiting for the 3 of them to realize that something was wrong, they saw a wave of swords that was even more ferocious than before descend from the sky. There were even 2 sword dragons hidden in the wave of swords, waiting for an opportunity to attack the 3 of them. With the beautiful autumn dew sword in hand, Lu Ping, who had already advanced to the 8th level of the core forging stage, had already reached a higher level in terms of the power of the great river flows east. Lu Ping had not used his full strength earlier because he wanted to quickly familiarize himself with the power of the great river flows east. This person was actually not afraid of Chang He Laozu's divine will attack. Could it be that he was really a Dharma adept? The ferocious and sharp sword light once again tore through the defenses of the Gu clan's 3 heroes. As the 3 heroes looked on in despair, the 2 sword dragons swayed their huge mouths made up of sharp blades and bit towards the 3 of them. "Hey, how dare you, young man! Have mercy!" 2 powerful voices rang out one after the other. Lu Ping's heart sank. There were actually 2 Dharma adepts. The killing intent in Lu Ping's heart plummeted, but he was determined to teach his opponents a lesson. The Gu clan's 3 heroes, who had already closed their eyes and waited for death, suddenly felt a heavy blow to their chests. Several of their ribs were broken, and their chests visibly caved in. However, Lu Ping's control of the fire was precise, and he did not injure their hearts. The Gu clan's 3 heroes were seriously injured and unconscious, but Lu Ping suddenly appeared next to Xiantianjinren. Enlightened Master Jianming was shocked and hurriedly retreated, but junior brother Wang was already far away. To enlightened Master Jianming's surprise, Lu Ping did not join forces with Xiantianjinren to attack. Instead, the 2 of them retreated. Enlightened Master Jianming seemed to have thought of something. When he turned his head, he saw a spatial door suddenly open in midair. Chang He Laozu and another Dharma adept emerged from the door. Chapter 703. Lu Ping seemed to have predicted that Chang He Laozu would appear. After dragging Xiantianjinren away from the battle, Xiantianjinren turned around to look and saw 2 early Dharma adepts walking out from a portal. Xiantianjinren sucked in a breath of cold air. 2 Dharma adepts. Even if the 2 of them had avoided the area where the 2 Laozu had appeared, how could the 2 of them escape from 2 Dharma adepts? However, Lu Ping did not seem to be worried about this. Chang He Laozu and the other Dharma adept did not chase after Lu Ping and Xiantianjinren for some reason. They did not even look at where the 2 of them were. After Chang He Laozu appeared from the portal, his expression turned ugly. He looked at a place not far behind the 2 of them and said in a low voice, "I don't know where you came from, but why did you set up a training ground in such a remote and barren place like the Yingshan Mountains?" Xiantianjinren's face lit up. When he turned around to look, he realized that Guotianshan Laozu had already appeared not far behind the 2 of them. Guotianshan Laozu laughed and said, "You must be joking, brother Changhe. The Yingshan Mountains have no owner, so why can't I set up a training ground here? As for my background, I'm just a lone practitioner who happened to obtain this level of practice by chance. I just want to set up a pure land and pass down what I've learned. Thank you, brother Changhe." Humph. A gust of hot air came out of Chang He Laozu's nostrils as he laughed coldly. What a joke. Who in the world of practice doesn't know that the Yingshan Mountains have long belonged to the Yingshan, Yinghe, and Daoyu sects? Don't you think it's too despicable of you to take advantage of the chaos when the Shura and Shuma sects were wreaking havoc? Patriarch Guotianshan sneered and said, "Your words are not without reason. However, when I arrived, the 3 dojo that you mentioned had already been razed to the ground by the Shura sect and the Shioemo sect. Not a single cultivator from the 3 sects that you mentioned survived. After that, our sect was established, and Patriarch Yushang inherited the teachings of the Yingshan sect and the Space Dao sect, creating the Yushan sect. I admire fellow Daoist Yushang's character, so I gave up the territories that we previously occupied to the Yingshan sect and the Space Dao sect. Although our sect still occupies a large portion of the Yingshan sect's territory, I have never seen any disciples of the Yingshan sect come here to restore their sect's teachings. Just as Tianshan Laozu finished speaking, an ignorant voice rang out. What a joke! With my grandfather, Changhe Laozu, here, who would dare to inherit the Yinghe sect? The person who spoke was none other than junior brother Wang, who had regained his courage after seeing Changhe Laozu. Guo Tianshan Laozu acted as if he had not heard anyone speak. You think that you are invincible below the Dharma adept level, but you do not know that the world of practitioners is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. It is not something that you can fathom. Today, losing at the hands of Brother Tianshan's disciple may not be a bad thing for you. When the 3 heard their own Laozu's words, the way they looked at Lu Ping changed once again. The fear from before was gone, leaving only admiration and a burning desire to fight. It was obvious that this Laozu of the Gu family had a deep understanding of the 3 Gu brothers. With just a few simple words, he was able to sweep away the dispiritedness of the 3 Gu brothers' defeat at the hands of Lu Ping. This Laozu raised his head and looked at Lu Ping, then turned to Guo Tianshan Laozu and cupped his hands. He said, I, Gu Hao, am very impressed that you are able to raise such a disciple. I have seen the disciples of a few large sects and large sections. Their late core forging adepts have the ability to fight against early Dharma adepts. Although these 3 disciples of my Gu family are usually arrogant, they still have some tricks up their sleeves. There are few adepts below the Dharma stage who are a match for them. Yet, they were so easily defeated by your disciple. With this level of strength, I am afraid that even I would not be able to defeat him easily. Guo Tianshan Laozu's expression did not change. He only smiled modestly and said, so it is a friend from the Gu family. You praise me too much. Although this disciple of mine has some tricks up his sleeves, how can he be compared to a disciple from a large sect of the same name? I would not dare to compare him to a friend from the Dharma stage. That would be too arrogant. Right at this moment, Ancestor Gu Hao turned his head slightly to look at an empty space in the distance, and he grinned. May I know if the Dao Universe sect's fellow Daoist Yushang has arrived? Why don't you show yourself and have a chat with me? Long River Laozu's heart jumped. He immediately used his divine consciousness to look in the direction that Gu Hao Laozu was looking at. Only then did he realize that there was indeed something strange about this place. When he turned his head to look, he saw that Guo Tianshan Laozu was still smiling. There was not the slightest hint of surprise on his face. It was obvious that he had already noticed Yushang's arrival. However, this was not the only thing that shocked Long River Laozu. Just as he was shocked by the fact that Guo Tianshan Laozu's level of cultivation was lower than his, but his strength was clearly not weaker than his, he suddenly realized that the 8th level core forging adept standing in front of Guo Tianshan Laozu, who had mocked his grandson earlier, also had a divine consciousness that was not weaker than his own. Long River Laozu's expression of surprise disappeared, but his heart was still in turmoil. After all, Long River Laozu was at the peak of the early Dharma stage, a practitioner who was about to face his tribulation. His level of cultivation was considered to be something to be proud of among his peers. However, he had first lost to Jiang Tianlin Laozu, and now he was no match for Guo Tianshan Laozu. Moreover, these two people's levels of cultivation were completely lower than his. Now, there was a demon-like core forging adept minor repairs who was actually not weaker than a Dharma adept. How could this not make Long River Laozu feel disheartened? Perhaps he had been a little too impatient in his eagerness to start his tribulation. Long River Laozu did not know that the setbacks he had suffered recently had inadvertently helped him achieve his dream of successfully advancing to the mid-Dharma stage in the future. Everyone was looking at the empty space. Yushang Laozu suddenly stepped out of thin air and looked in the direction of Long River Laozu. She snorted coldly and stood there, minding her own business, not saying a word to anyone present. Long River Laozu's face was as dark as water as he faced Yushang Laozu. There was a hint of shame in his expression. Gu Hao Laozu clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Since friend Yushang is here, that's great. This time, friend Guo Tianshan has already shown us the power of the sect that he has established. The Yingshan Immortal Academy indeed has the power to establish itself in the Yingshan mountain range. My Gu family is not a domineering and tyrannical clan, so we will naturally give the Yingshan Immortal Academy and the Yushan faction sufficient respect. Since that's the case, I have something to discuss with the two of you. Can we speak in private?" Guo Tianshan Laozu and Yushang Laozu looked at each other with tacit understanding, then nodded in Gu Hao Laozu's direction. Gu Hao Laozu's expression did not reveal anything, but Long River Laozu suddenly understood. No wonder friend Gu Hao did not join forces with me to deal with Guo Tianshan earlier. So Yushang was already on Guo Tianshan's side. Once we attacked Guo Tianshan, Yushang would definitely help. This was no wonder. This time, the Gu family had already decided to expand their territory in the Yingshan mountain range. This way, once the Yingshan Immortal Academy was chased out of the Yingshan mountain range, the next target would naturally be the Yushan faction. Without the lips, the teeth would be interdependent. Yushang would definitely have to join forces with Guo Tianshan in order to protect their respective foundations. It was a pity that the Gu family had also lost much of their strength in defending against the Shura and Xiuma cultivators. Otherwise, the Yingshan mountain range would not have sent just one Dharma adept, Gu Hao, to expand their territory. The four Laozus disappeared. Lu Ping and Xian Tianjinren also returned to the Immortal Academy. However, at this time, news of Lu Ping's achievements had already spread throughout the Yingshan Immortal Academy. The three core forging adepts from the North Sea had already dealt with the most mysterious elder Xian Ping of the Immortal Academy. The news of him fighting 1 against 3 and heavily injuring opponents of the same level as him spread throughout the Immortal Academy, causing the blood of many Immortal Academy disciples to boil. As for the core forging adepts and a few late blood condensation adepts from the North Sea, expressions of surprise appeared on their faces. They all said, "So that's how it is. No wonder, no wonder." However, the other Immortal Academies and adepts asked curiously, "Could it be that you already knew about Elder Xian Ping?" These adepts smiled but did not say anything. However, their expressions all revealed yearning and admiration. Half a day later, Lu Ping once again received the talisman from Guo Tianshan and Laozu. After reading the contents, Lu Ping sank into deep thought for a moment. Then, he put the talisman back. His body turned into a stream of water and directly entered the Ying River from the cave abode. He flowed along with the surging Ying River. The disciples of the Yingshan Immortal Academy were still immersed in the fervor brought about by Elder Xian Ping's tyrannical strength. However, they did not know that this mysterious elder had already secretly left the Immortal Academy. The surface of the water surged, and a huge black tortoise carrying a young cultivator who appeared to be in his 20s floated on the surface of the water, swimming down the river. When Lu Ping received the decree from Guo Tianshan Laozu, he was rather surprised. He had inherited the pure yang soul of the Ying Tian sect's peak Dharma adept, Fei Tian Laozu. He knew the secret places that the Ying Tian sect had opened up in the Yingshan mountain range like the back of his hand. However, he also knew that these secret places had probably been passed down for a long time. Originally, Lu Ping had planned to search for these secret places according to Fei Tian Laozu's memories after he came out of seclusion. Even though the chances were slim, if he could find one, it would undoubtedly be a great boost to the development of the Yingshan Immortal Academy. However, he did not expect that one of the large secret places of inheritance of the Ying Tian sect would still be preserved. These so-called secret places of the Ying Tian sect could actually be divided into 3 levels: the Spirit Gathering Secret Place, the Spirit Vein Secret Place, and the Inheritance Secret Place. The Spirit Gathering Secret Place was actually a spirit gathering place that was rich in spirit energy and opened up into a spirit herb garden or a spirit plant garden. The scale was not large, and only a few simple formations were used to conceal it to prevent wild beasts from destroying the things inside. These so-called secret places were the most numerous. Lu Ping did not expect these so-called secret places, which could be discovered by a core forging cultivator's divine will, to be passed down. The spirit vein was a secret place that the Ying Tian sect had opened up using some of the scattered spirit veins in the Yingshan mountain range. This place was usually protected by a more complete formation, and there were disciples of the Ying Tian sect stationed in the secret place, specializing in protection and cultivation. Although these secret places were more secretive, after the destruction of the Ying Tian sect, these secret places were continuously found by cultivators in the Yingshan mountain range. Now, even Lu Ping was not confident that 1 or 2 of these secret places would still exist. The most secretive places were the inheritance secret places. These secret places were generally divided into 2 types. One was the inheritance place that the Ying Tian sect had opened up using a heavenly grotto heaven magic treasure, like the Ying Su treasured mirror that Lu Ping had discovered and taken away by Jiang Tianlin Laozu. The other type was the grotto heaven space that the powerful cultivators of the Ying Tian sect had opened up in the Yingshan mountain range using some spatial cracks. These 2 types of secret places were the essence of the Ying Tian sect's inheritance. They were also the true goal of the people behind the destruction of the Ying Tian sect. Yushang Laozu clearly knew that her mountain universe sect alone could not maintain a balance with the Gu family in the Yingshan mountain range. This secret was ultimately revealed to Guo Tianshan Laozu when the 4 Laozu discussed it. The talisman that Guo Tianshan Laozu gave to Lu Ping was naturally in the hope that he could lead the disciples of the Immortal Academy to the secret space. In the past, the 3 sects had obtained close to 50,000 stalks of 500-year-old spirit herbs and 5,000 stalks of 1,000-year-old spirit herbs. This was an enormous wealth that could not be ignored. Lu Ping thought back to when he first entered Fei Ling Island. Back then, the total amount of 500-year spirit herbs collected by the various sects was only equal to the amount produced in this space. As for the 1,000-year spirit herbs, the difference was too great, only 1/10 of the amount produced in this space. It had to be known that Fei Ling Island was where Fei Ling sect's Dao Right was located. Even though this Dao Right had already been plundered, it was still nourished by a large spirit vein. Moreover, it would only appear once every 500 years. This space was merely one of the secret areas opened by the Ying Tian sect, and it would open once every 300 years. This could not be said to be small. Could there really be such a huge difference between the North Sea and the Central Plains? Lu Ping knew that there were naturally many other factors that could not be generalized. However, there was no doubt that the Central Plains was far more fertile than the North Sea's cultivation world. Lu Ping weighed the pros and cons and finally decided to go to this partially collapsed secret space to investigate first. Even though he knew that Guo Tianshan Laozu must have already investigated this place beforehand, Lu Ping still trusted his own eyes and senses more. His divine will, which was not inferior to that of an early Dharma adept, constantly lingered around a cliff in this basin. Lu Ping's brows furrowed slightly. Clearly, when the opponent who was on par with Fei Tian Laozu smashed down with his fist, the secret space's entrance had been smashed into pieces. Although this secret space was fortunately preserved, the entrance to the secret space had already collapsed. Every 300 years, the collapsed space would recover for a short period of time. However, it was extremely fragile. Once a mid-blood condensation realm cultivator or above entered, the recovered space would collapse again, and the cultivator would die. After several lessons, the 3 sects came to the conclusion that only adepts who were below the early blood condensation could enter. Naturally, Lu Ping did not come here to verify the lessons he had learned from the three sects' bloody lessons. Instead, he came here because of the records he had obtained from Fei Tian Laozu's pure yang soul. The Broken Bone Cave Heaven, which was now known as the Fist Valley Cave Heaven, was not only a space that produced 500-year-old spirit herbs and 1,000-year-old spirit herbs, but the number of 3,000-year-old spirit herbs in this cave was also quite considerable. More importantly, this grotto heaven was filled with 3,000-year-old spirit herbs that were extremely rare in the cultivation world. They were essential for refining the spirit forging pill. However, in the past 4,000 years, the three sects' cultivators had not obtained even a single 3,000-year-old spirit herb from the Fist Valley Cave Heaven. Why was that? Chapter 705. The Fist Valley's secret ground would open for 3 months. Each time, the three sects would send 60 early-stage blood condensation cultivators into the secret ground. Each sect would send 20 people. This time, however, it was different. The Gu family was powerful. Even though Patriarch Celestial Mountain and Patriarch Yushang did their best to fight for it, the Yingshan Immortal Academy and Mountain Universe sect only had 18 slots each. As for the Gu family, they had 24. 3 days later, a huge streak of light approached from afar. When it got closer, it turned out to be a huge puppet bird. The bird landed on the ground, and more than 20 cultivators alighted from its back. Apart from enlightened Master Jianming and a late-core forging cultivator, there was also a mid-core forging cultivator who was greeting the remaining 24 third-layer blood condensation cultivators. The cultivators seemed to be talking to these disciples seriously, and from time to time, the disciples would nod their heads in acknowledgement. After the 2 late-stage core forging cultivators got off the puppet bird, they didn't put it away. Instead, they immediately set up several soundproof restrictions around them. Only then could they see the mid-stage core forging cultivator talking to the disciples. The disciples opened and closed their mouths, but no sound came out. Just when the mid-stage core forging cultivator finished giving some important instructions to the disciples and passed something to the leaders of the 24 disciples, enlightened Master Jianming reached out to break the soundproof restriction around them. He said respectfully to the cultivator, "Thank you, Master Gu." The mid-stage core forging cultivator waved his hand and said, "It's fine. The Fist Valley Grotto Heaven is very important. It's only right to give detailed instructions. It's all thanks to Brother Jianming for telling us everything about the secret ground." Enlightened Master Jianming smiled awkwardly. The late-stage core forging cultivator next to him said, "Fifth brother, you forgot that Brother Jianming is now a guest elder of the clan. You are a member of the Gu clan. Why do you need to say anything?" Master Gu patted his forehead and smiled. "Eighth brother is right. It's my fault. Brother Jianming, please don't blame me." Enlightened Master Jianming quickly waved his hand. "I don't dare." At this moment, enlightened Master Jianming's expression changed. The late-stage core forging cultivator next to him, the 8th brother, said, "Magic Cloud Yarn? Looks like it's Dao Yu. Oh, it's the Mountain Universe sect." Daoist Jianming smiled and said, "That's right. This Magic Cloud muslin belongs to the Dao Universe sect and the current Mountain Universe sect's late core forging cultivator, Pang Feiyun." As soon as enlightened Jianming finished speaking, a colorful cloud separated from the clouds in the sky. The clouds slowly descended and a middle-aged cultivator with a long beard slowly walked down. He looked at the Gu clan cultivator who had arrived first and remained silent. After a while, a late core forging female cultivator descended from the colorful cloud. Behind her were 18 early blood condensation cultivators, all of whom were at the 3rd layer of the blood condensation realm. The female cultivator glanced at the many cultivators of the Gu clan in the distance. Finally, her gaze fixed on Master Gu and she said, "I didn't expect the Gu clan to send Gu Zhou here. Your clan seems to value this Fist Valley space very much." Master Gu smiled and replied, "Didn't your clan also send Master Flying Rainbow to hold the line? I wonder which pill refiner will Yingshan Immortal Academy send here. I heard that this sect has only been established for 10 years. I wonder if they can gather 18 blood condensation cultivators." Enlightened Flying Rainbow smiled and said, "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint Master Guzhou. Although the Yingshan Immortal Academy has only been established for 10 years and their foundation is still shallow, they can still send out 18 blood condensation cultivators." As soon as Enlightened Flying Rainbow finished speaking, a giant boat floated down from upstream of the Ying River. The giant boat flowed with the current and in the blink of an eye, it left the mountains on both sides behind. When the giant boat entered the Fist Valley space, it suddenly stopped in the middle of the river. At this time, the Gu clan's late core forging 8th brother suddenly said, "I wonder who will come from the Yingshan Immortal Academy. It'd be best if it's the mysterious enlightened Xian Ping who defeated 3 of our late core forging cultivators by himself." As soon as the 8th brother said this, not only were the Gu clan's cultivators shocked, but even the Mountain Universe sect's middle-aged cultivator Pang Feiyun and female cultivator Enlightened Flying Rainbow had looks of anticipation on their faces. Master Gu Zhou continued, "I heard that this sage Xianping has never shown his true face to anyone before. Previously, there was a spiritual whirlpool in the Yingshan Immortal Academy. Does everyone think that this so-called sage Xianping is a Dharma adept in disguise?" As soon as Master Gu Zhou finished speaking, the few enlightened masters fell silent. At this time, the giant boat was already slowly approaching the riverbank. At this time, Mountain Universe sect's Pang Feiyun, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, "It can't be a Dharma adept." Enlightened Jian Ming immediately asked, "Oh, Brother Feiyun, do you have any basis for saying that?" However, after Pang Feiyun said this, he did not speak again, causing Enlightened Jian Ming to be greatly embarrassed. Seeing this, Enlightened Flying Rainbow laughed and said, "Senior Brother Feiyun has always been like this, please forgive him, Enlightened Jian Ming. However, my uncle Yushang Laozu has previously said that although this enlightened Xian Ping from the Yingshan Immortal Academy has concealed his true face so that even Dharma adepts cannot see through him, his level of practice is a true 8th level core forging practitioner. Also, from the aura around him, it seems that he has not broken through for too long. Fellow Enlightened Flying Rainbow, could it be that the phenomenon that appeared in the Yingshan Immortal Academy was caused when enlightened Xian Ping broke through to the 8th level core forging practitioner? How is that possible? Isn't a phenomenon like the reverse flow of spiritual energy something that can only happen to Dharma adepts?" Enlightened Flying Rainbow laughed and said, "Fellow Enlightened Gu Zhou's words are not without reason. However, if the phenomenon that caused the reverse flow of spiritual energy was not caused by this enlightened Xian Ping, doesn't that mean that other than Guotian Shan Laozu, there is another Dharma adept hiding in the dark?" Enlightened Gu Zhou's expression was one of shock. Next to him, his 8th brother, Enlightened Gu Hun, laughed and said, "I think that it is impossible for there to be 2 Laozus in the Yingshan Immortal Academy. That phenomenon was either created by Guotian Shan Laozu to confuse the public, or it was really caused by enlightened Xian Ping's breakthrough." Enlightened Gu Hun saw that his 6th brother did not understand and was about to retort, so he hurriedly laughed and said, "6th brother, listen to me first. In the past, I followed my 2nd uncle to travel and heard that the elite disciples of some large sects with deep foundations and those large sects that are known as holy lands for cultivation have late core forging practitioners who can match Dharma adepts. When these people break through, even if they are only late core forging practitioners, they can cause a phenomenon like the reverse flow of spiritual energy. There is such a thing." Not just enlightened Gu Zhou, but the other enlightened masters were also shocked. "Why not?" Enlightened Gu Hun laughed bitterly and shook his head. Recently, the biggest news in the cultivation world is that Yuan Feixiang of the Yuan clan killed a blood demon at the 9th level of core forging. Although the lightning magic passed down in the Yuan clan is the most effective way to counter Shura and demonic practitioners, it still shocked the cultivation world that a 9th level core forging practitioner could kill a blood demon that is stronger than an ordinary early Dharma adept. And it is said that when this Yuan Feixiang broke through to the 9th level of core forging, he caused the phenomenon of the reverse flow of spiritual energy. This, enlightened Gu Zhou said in disbelief. Could this small Yingshan Immortal Academy produce a disciple that can match those holy lands for cultivation and the #1 clan in the Central Plains? That's hard to say. Enlightened Gu Hun said faintly. After all, until now, we still don't know where this Guo Tianshan Laozu came from. If we say that this Guo Tianshan Laozu advanced to the Dharma stage as a lone practitioner, although it is not easy, it is not rare. But to say that he can still cultivate a junior that is comparable to an elite disciple of a large sect, that may not be possible. Enlightened Fei Hong also had a pensive look on his face. Hearing enlightened Gu Hun's words, he said, "Fellow Taoist Gu Hun, do you mean that there is an even greater force supporting this Yingshan Immortal Academy?" Enlightened Gu Hun did not deny it. The Yingshan Immortal Academy's giant boat had already neared the riverbank. When everyone looked over, they saw that the person that appeared was not enlightened Xianping whom everyone was expecting, nor was it the other late-stage core forging realm cultivator of Yingshan Immortal Academy, enlightened Xiantian. Instead, it was the current mountain elder of Yingshan Immortal Academy, enlightened Gu Zhou. When enlightened Gu Zhou saw that the person following closely behind enlightened Lu Xianyuan was actually a 4th-level core forging realm cultivator, he said in a mocking tone, "No matter what, this Yingshan Immortal Academy's foundation is still not enough." This time, they only sent 2 mid-stage core forging realm cultivators to lead the team for the opening of the Fist Valley space. Don't they know that at least 6 late-stage core forging realm cultivators are needed to open the entrance to the collapsed space? Even though Taoist Master Gu Zhou's voice was soft, how could it escape the ears of the cultivators present? Even the blood condensation realm disciples standing behind them heard it clearly. When they looked at Taoist Master Lu Xianyuan, who was calmly walking towards them, a trace of disdain appeared on their faces. Enlightened Lu Xianyuan turned to the 4th-level core forging realm cultivator behind him and instructed, "Junior brother Xian Fang, I'll leave it to you to instruct the disciples on some things to take note of after entering the space." Enlightened Xian Fang nodded and stretched out his hand to set up a soundproof restriction, enveloping the 18 blood condensation realm disciples that came down from the giant ship. Even though Gu family and mountain space sects cultivators couldn't hear what spiritual master Xian Fang was saying, when Immortal Academy's disciples appeared on the giant boat, everyone erupted into commotion, their faces carrying expressions of mockery. Unlike the disciples from the Gu clan and Mountain Universe sect, who were all at the 3rd level of the blood condensation realm, although the 18 disciples from the Yingshan Immortal Academy had all advanced to the blood condensation realm, their cultivation levels were uneven. Only 4 of them were at the 3rd level of the blood condensation realm, 10 of them were at the 2nd level, and 6 of them were at the 1st level of the blood condensation realm. Contrary to the mockery and contempt on the faces of the disciples from the other sects, the enlightened masters who were leading the core forging realm cultivators looked surprised. It was not because the Yingshan Immortal Academy could not gather 18 early-stage blood condensation realm cultivators. On the contrary, it was because they were able to gather 18 early-stage blood condensation realm disciples. These enlightened masters naturally knew some of the secrets of their sections. When they saw the Yingshan Immortal Academy bring out 18 blood condensation disciples, they recalled enlightened Master Gu Hun's speculation that the Yingshan Immortal Academy might be a large sect that had secretly infiltrated the Yingshan mountain range. This time, they were more convinced of this speculation. Compared to the other enlightened masters who valued Yingshan Immortal Academy a little more, enlightened Gu Zhou was looking at enlightened Xian Fang in the soundproof restriction with a serious expression. When enlightened Master Fei Hong saw that enlightened Gu Zhou was looking elsewhere, he also followed his gaze and looked at enlightened Xian Fang. After a while, he said with some surprise, "This Yingshan Immortal Academy really isn't a newly established faction. This enlightened master doesn't look old, and his cultivation has only just broken through to the middle stage of core forging. However, if I'm not wrong, I'm afraid he's an alchemy master." Enlightened Gu Zhou nodded and said, if this Guo Tianshan established Yingshan Immortal Academy on a whim, how could he have prepared every aspect of a sect in a short 10 years? With the words of the two alchemy masters, Pang Feiyun, Gu Han, and enlightened Jian Ming naturally didn't doubt them. Thus, they valued Yingshan Immortal Academy even more. An alchemy master wasn't something that could be achieved easily. It was as difficult for an itinerant cultivator to become an alchemy master as it was for an itinerant cultivator to reach the Dharma manifestation stage. Although alchemy masters had a transcendent status in the cultivation world, their achievements couldn't be separated from a large amount of spiritual herbs for them to practice with. Without the support of a faction, it was extremely difficult to achieve anything. After enlightened Xian Fang finished giving his instructions, he removed the soundproof restriction and heard enlightened Gu Zhou say, I wonder which two late-stage core forging Taoists your sect has sent. This Fist Valley space requires 6 late-stage core forging cultivators to work together to open it. If it's only Taoist Lu Xianyuan, I think it's fine not to open the Fist Valley space. Lu Xianyuan was only at the 6th level of core forging realm. When he heard this, he smiled unhurriedly and said, Taoist Lu, you worry too much. When the space opens, my sect will naturally send someone over. Enlightened Gu Zhou didn't ask who would come. Yingshan Immortal Academy currently only had enlightened Xian Ping and enlightened Xian Tian, 2 late-stage core forging elders. If there were other late-stage core forging cultivators from Yingshan Immortal Academy that came, it would only mean that Yingshan Immortal Academy's hidden power was even stronger. Spiritual Master Gu Hun's thoughts ran deeper. He had once traveled the world, and his horizons and knowledge were not comparable to those around him. But now, he recalled an explosive rumor about the overseas cultivation world that he had heard decades ago in the East River. In the East Sea, a power called the Carefree sect suddenly rose up and broke through the many obstacles of the Crystal Palace, sailing their treasured ship to the Tianyue sect of the Central Plains. They formed an alliance with the Tianyue sect, which had always been the first to bear the brunt of the Crystal Palace's attempts to extend their power into the Central Plains. They built an ultra-long-distance teleportation matrix, causing the Carefree sect to live up to its name as a large sect. Before this Carefree sect rose up, it had changed its name to Boudoir, and operated as a secret power for many years. Only then did it grow strong under the nose of the Crystal Palace. Once it rose up, even the Crystal Palace did not expect it. It was a classic case of a fire in their own backyard. This caused the Crystal Palace, which had always dominated the East Sea and expanded its power everywhere, to lose a lot of face in the cultivation world. Could it be that Yingshan Immortal Academy was also a chess piece of some sect to expand its power? Perfected Gu Hun's heart sank. If this was really the case, the Gu clan really could not shed all pretense of cordiality. If the power behind the other party became angry out of humiliation, the Gu clan could barely be considered a medium-sized power in the Central Plains cultivation world. There were 3 mid-Dharma adepts and 5 early Dharma adepts in the clan. They might not be able to withstand the anger of the other party. As Perfected Gu Hun thought of this, he heard Perfected Gu Zhou turn to ask Xian Fang, who was behind Perfected Lu Xianyuan, this young friend is not bad. Recently, you seem to have been refining some mid-core forging elixirs. It seems that your success rate in refining mid-core forging elixirs is not low. Perfected Gu Hun was stunned. He knew that this was Perfected Gu Zhou's intention to establish his power. A few days ago, in the Battle of Yingshan Immortal Academy, the 3 heroes of the Gu clan were defeated by the opposing elder, Perfected Xianping, with 2 swords. This time, Perfected Gu Zhou clearly wanted to regain this face. Perfected Gu Hun wanted to stop him, but thinking that alchemists had their own rules of the alchemy world, it was better for him not to interfere. Moreover, Perfected Gu Hun was very dissatisfied with the fact that Yingshan Immortal Academy had trampled on the 3 heroes of the Gu clan to establish their own foundation. Naturally, he was happy to see the other party make a fool of himself. Perfected Xian Fang was stunned when he heard Perfected Gu Zhou's words. He immediately knew that the other party was provoking him. There were two main types of sparring between alchemists in the world of alchemy. The first type was to compete in alchemy. If the level was serious, it could even directly trigger a cauldron smashing agreement, until one side admitted defeat and destroyed the cauldron, completely withdrawing from the alchemy world. This was also considered a duel in the alchemy world. Back then, Lu Ping had once made a cauldron-smashing agreement with Yu Jiangrui in the Qianyuan Palace of the Northern Alliance in the East Sea. Later, after mediation by the Northern Alliance's Hongye Laozu, perfected Qin, and the others, although Yu Jiangrui did not smash his cauldron, he was now the alchemy master of Soundwave Island, which Lu Ping managed in the East Sea. The other type was to probe each other's secrets. Alchemists dealt with flames, cauldrons, and various kinds of spirit herbs all year round. It was inevitable that they would reveal their achievements in alchemy as well as other secrets. This method of alchemists was to see who could see through the other side's secrets, guess the other side's alchemy level, and know that the other side bowed their head in respect. Although perfected Xian Fang was also an alchemy genius, he had only been an alchemy master for a few decades. How could his experience be compared to someone like perfected Guzhou, who had been immersed in alchemy for hundreds of years? Although perfected Xian Fang also tried to find some clues from perfected Guzhou, he had to admit that perfected Guzhou's alchemy skills were above his own. He couldn't detect any subtle changes in perfected Guzhou's alchemy skills. He could only cup his hands and say, "Your Excellency's alchemy skills must be extraordinary. Refining a late core forging pill is not a problem." Perfected Guzhou smiled proudly and said, "That's right. I can see that Your Excellency has recently been refining a pill suitable for cultivators with metal attribute bloodlines. I wonder if Your Excellency can guess what pill I've been refining recently." Perfected Xian Fang's face turned red. Just as he released his divine sense, it was blocked by a divine sense that was far stronger than his. He couldn't find anything from perfected Guzhou. At this time, perfected Master Fei Hong from the Mountain Universe sect seemed to be unable to hold back his loneliness. He opened his mouth and giggled, "Little friend, the pill you've refined recently shouldn't have been more than 3 days ago. Looking at the residual pill qi around little friend's body, I'm afraid your success rate is not low." Both of them called perfected Master Xian Fang little friend. Perfected Master Xian Fang was an alchemy grandmaster and was respected by many. Now that he was being looked down upon, his alchemy skills were inferior to these two, and his cultivation was even worse. His face turned red with anger, but he couldn't refute a single word. Just as perfected Master Lu Xianyuan sensed that something was wrong and was about to change the topic, he saw perfected Master Xian Fang's eyes brighten when he looked behind him. Perfected Master Lu Xianyuan immediately guessed something and was delighted. Everyone also noticed the abnormality in perfected Master Xian Fang's expression. When they turned to look, they didn't know when, but behind the Mountain Universe sect and the Gu clan, which was in front of the Yingshan Immortal Academy disciples, a cultivator had suddenly appeared there without anyone noticing. When perfected Master Jian Ming saw this person, he immediately felt a bitter taste in his mouth. However, his expression was still calm as he forced a smile and said, "So it's perfected Master Xian Ping." The other cultivators from the Mountain Universe sect and the Gu clan were shocked. They saw this cultivator who looked to be around the same age as perfected Master Xian Fang appear behind them without anyone noticing. If this person launched a sneak attack, they didn't know who would be able to block it. When they thought of the method this person used to defeat the Gu clan's 3 heroes, they watched as perfected Master Xian Ping walked through the two sects' cultivators as if there was no one around and walked towards the Yingshan Immortal Academy disciples. They unconsciously took 2 steps back to make way for him. Lu Ping's words caused Taoist Master Xian Fang's eyes to light up. But then he remembered that Lu Ping's cultivation time was actually about the same as his own, but Lu Ping was already an alchemy grandmaster and had great strength. Taoist Master Xian Fang couldn't help but sigh. Lu Ping patted his shoulder and looked at the Immortal Academy disciples behind him. When he saw that Du Jialua was among them, Lu Ping wasn't too surprised. But when he saw that Tianyu, who was originally at the 6th level of the blood condensation realm, had also sealed his cultivation, he couldn't help but frown. Lu Ping turned to look at Master Flying Rainbow and Master Gu Zhou behind him. Both of them had obviously heard Lu Ping's words of admonition to Taoist Master Xian Fang, especially Master Flying Rainbow. When Lu Ping had seen through his alchemy realm, he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. This person had such a high cultivation, could it be that he was also proficient in alchemy? If that was really the case, then what kind of realm had his alchemy reached? Before Master Flying Rainbow and Master Gu Zhou could figure out this problem, they heard Lu Ping's calm voice suddenly say, "Void Flame Pill." Master Flying Rainbow was stunned, while Master Gu Zhou's expression changed greatly. However, Lu Ping didn't stop there. He looked at enlightened Master Gu Zhou and said, "You haven't concocted any medicinal pellets in the past 3 days, so this cauldron of medicinal pellets must have been concocted 3 days ago. However, the success rate doesn't seem to be too high. It should be below 50%, but it should be above 30%. Enlightened Master Gu Zhou stared at Lu Ping in a daze, speechless. 3 days ago, he had indeed concocted the void flame pellets with a success rate of around 40%. But how could this person in front of him know that? Master Gu Zhou couldn't sense the slightest bit of smoke around Lu Ping. This could only mean that this person's alchemy skills were far superior to his, or he wasn't an alchemist at all. Moreover, no matter what, Master Gu Zhou felt that Master Xian Ping was the second type. But if he wasn't an alchemist, how could he have such an understanding of alchemy? This was not a realm that could be reached through experience and foresight. Without personally practicing alchemy, it was impossible to understand the mutual scheming between alchemists. Master Gu Zhou's attitude changed greatly, and he asked carefully, "May I ask if you are an alchemy grandmaster?" Master Gu Zhou's words made Master Gu Hun and Master Jian Ming tremble. They naturally knew how high the status of an alchemy grandmaster was. An alchemy grandmaster at the core forging stage had a status comparable to a Dharma adept in the cultivation world. Although the Gu family's strength wasn't too high among the middle-sized forces in Central Plains, they still had some ambition. However, the Gu family's biggest weakness was that they didn't have an alchemy grandmaster in the family, and this weakness had greatly hindered the Gu family's development and strength for the past few hundred years. Therefore, no one could have a stronger desire for an alchemy grandmaster than the Gu family practitioners. Reverend Pang Feiyun of the Mountain Universe sect, who had always been a man of few words, also had a change in expression. He glanced at Reverend Fei Hong, who was beside him, and saw that Reverend Fei Hong's expression was serious. Lu Ping smiled and didn't answer Master Gu Zhou's question. His divine will was comparable to that of a Dharma adept like Changhe Laozu. If he didn't want to, these two people, even though they were alchemy grandmasters, and their divine wills were superior compared to other adepts of the same level, how could they compare to Lu Ping? Naturally, they wouldn't be able to discover anything. What's more, Lu Ping cultivated a water elemental cultivation technique. Compared to most alchemists in the cultivation world who cultivated wood elemental or fire elemental cultivation techniques, his identity as an alchemist was undoubtedly more concealed and deceptive. Lu Ping then turned to look at Reverend Fei Hong and said, "My friend, the alchemy pill you refined earlier was the Qilin pill? Although this kind of pill is ordinary among alchemy pills half a step into the Dharma stage, it's a rather good pill for a core forging adept who has merged with a third type of spiritual item." Reverend Fei Hong's face turned pale. He wanted to say something, but there was only bitterness in his voice. The Qilin pill was considered ordinary. She was the top alchemist of the Mountain Universe sect, and her position in the sect had always been high. Even Yushang Laozu favored her, hoping that she would become the first alchemy grandmaster of the Mountain Universe sect. However, Reverend Fei Hong knew how difficult it was to become an alchemy grandmaster. Although she had already concocted a half-step Dharma realm medicinal pellet, just as Lu Ping had said, the Qipang pellet was only one of the most common and low-grade medicinal pellets among the half-step Dharma realm medicinal pellets. There was still a long way to go before it could be used to concoct a cultivation-level medicinal pellet. And now, the Qilin pill could be said to be the limit of her alchemy skills. A faint green light flashed in Lu Ping's eyes, and the divine senses that were drifting around Reverend Gu Zhou and Reverend Fei Hong also withdrew without them realizing it. However, it seemed that Lu Ping did not intend to stop there, and he turned to look at Reverend Gu Zhou. Reverend Gu Zhou's heart skipped a beat for no reason, and he heard Lu Ping say, "You used a mid-earth level spiritual fire, right? This grade of spiritual fire is enough to refine the void flame pill." However, although the void flame pill is only a late core forging stage alchemy pill, its medicinal effects are fierce like fire. Cultivators who consume this pill will either waste a large portion of the medicinal effects, or their cultivation will increase by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. Lu Ping ignored Reverend Gu Zhou's shocked expression and continued, "Therefore, it is best to use a high earth level spiritual fire for this type of pill. Only then can the medicinal effects of the pill be even more fierce. I presume that the cultivators in your family who can consume this type of pill have already learned how to control the fierce medicinal effects. Thus, even if you use a high earth level spiritual fire, you won't have to worry about wasting the medicinal effects. Instead, it can further promote their cultivation." Reverend Gu Zhou hesitated for a moment, as if he was thinking about what Lu Ping had said. After a moment, although he was unwilling, he still bowed to Lu Ping and said, "Thank you for your guidance." When Lu Ping turned to look at Reverend Fei Hong, he saw a pair of eager eyes, as if eagerly waiting for something. Lu Ping was startled for a moment, then said, "Your alchemy skills are already quite high. Originally, I didn't want to say much, but the wondrous panacea is all about the word strange, yet you used the conventional alchemy method to refine it. Although with your alchemy skills, you still managed to form the pill, the success rate was still affected." Reverend Fei Hong's eyes flickered. Just like Reverend Gu Zhou, he bowed to Lu Ping and thanked him. In the world of alchemy, those who had reached the pinnacle were first. With just a few words, Lu Ping had subdued the two alchemy masters who had just made Reverend Xian Fang into a sorry state. With just a few pointers, the two alchemy masters bowed and thanked him. Not to mention the disciples from Immortal Academy whose faces were already filled with admiration, even Jian Ming, Gu Han, and Pang Feiyun, the three reverends, had looks of disbelief on their faces. Their gazes towards Lu Ping had also changed from reverence to respect. The moment Reverend Lu Xianyuan appeared, he knew that Lu Ping would definitely humiliate himself through the competition between alchemy masters. What a joke! What was Lu Ping's identity? Xinling was the youngest alchemy grandmaster. Lu Xianyuan had heard his teacher, Guotian Shan Laozu, mention it in private. Tianlu Laozu had once said with a sigh that the day Lu Ping reached the Dharma stage would be the day his alchemy skills would surpass his own. Furthermore, Lu Xianyuan had guessed from the hints in Guotian Shan Laozu's words that Lu Ping seemed to have several secret pill formulas on him. These pill formulas might even be precious items that could affect Jinling's future, and Guotian Shan Laozu's advancement to the Dharma stage also seemed to be directly related to Lu Ping. Reverend Lu Xianyuan knew that his teacher was actually hinting to him to maintain the friendship he had established with Lu Ping in Jinling's side courtyard. That way, it might be of great help to him in the future when he advanced to the Dharma stage. Chapter 708. In fact, what perfected Lu Xianyuan didn't know was that after Jinling obtained many inheritances from the Yingtian sect, Lu Ping was naturally most concerned about the inheritance related to alchemy. Naturally, Jinling wouldn't hide anything from Lu Ping. In the past 10 years, apart from closed-door cultivation, Lu Ping had been studying alchemy and reading the inheritance ancient books. In addition, he had received the pure yang soul inheritance from Fei Tian Laozu, so his knowledge level had been significantly improved. He was no longer the same as the Lu Ping who had just become an alchemy guru 10 years ago. Putting aside the fact that Lu Ping's words made perfected Guzhou and perfected Fei Hong lose their reserve and pride in front of Lu Ping, perfected Lu Xianyuan saw that although Lu Ping had the upper hand, it also made the situation a little awkward. Hence, he smiled and said, "Since we're all here, there shouldn't be much difference in time. I think we should start preparing to open the Fist Valley space now." Perfected Lu Xuanyuan's words received everyone's approval, but perfected Jian Ming looked at Lu Ping with some hesitation and said, "Opening the Fist Valley space now is naturally not a problem, but opening the Fist Valley space requires the cooperation of 6 late-stage core forging realm cultivators. We naturally won't doubt perfected Lu Xuanyuan's strength, but it's inevitably a little inappropriate if one person takes care of 2 places to open the formation." Perfected Lu Xianyuan was stunned. Tian Shan Laozu didn't tell him about this before they came. Now it seemed that Tian Shan Laozu only sent Lu Ping, a late-stage core forging realm cultivator. Now that he heard perfected Jian Ming's words, perfected Lu Xianyuan couldn't help but look back at Lu Ping. Lu Ping naturally knew what perfected Lu Xianyuan meant, so he smiled and said, "This time, I'm the only late-stage core forging realm cultivator from Immortal Academy, but don't worry, there won't be any mistakes in opening the space channel." Lu Ping's words naturally couldn't convince everyone here. If there was a careless mistake, everyone would have to wait for another 300 years, not to mention the loss of a large number of spiritual herbs. Lu Ping revealed a faint smile. A pair of flying swords suddenly appeared in Lu Ping's surroundings. Then, under the fearful eyes of the other sect's true masters, as well as the fanatical eyes of Immortal Academy's disciples, Autumn Water's faintly sword pointed one towards the southeast, one towards the southwest, the 2 separately flying out 3 to 5 li. Then, under the shocked eyes of Taoist Master Ji, who knew how many times, he casually displayed several sets of ordinary sword techniques. Taoist Master Jian Ming finally guessed why Lu Ping suddenly appeared behind them. This Taoist Master Xian Ping must have investigated the collapsed space in advance, but what made Taoist Master Jian Ming feel strange was that besides alchemy, this Taoist Master Xian Ping was also interested in space arrays and other miscellaneous knowledge. The distance between the 2 flying swords was exactly the distance between the 6 bases of the space arrays to open the space. Compared to Taoist Master Jian Ming, who was quite knowledgeable in space arrays, Taoist Master Gu Hun and Pang Feiyun paid attention to Lu Ping's powerful divine sense. The strength of a cultivator's attack depended on the cultivator's cultivation and true essence, and the range of the attack was limited by the range of the cultivator's divine sense. The fact that Lu Ping could display the 2 flying swords from such a distance proved that Lu Ping's divine sense cultivation far surpassed everyone else's. Taoist Master Jian Ming laughed dryly and said, "In that case, let's begin." "There's no hurry." Lu Ping waved his hand and said, "Although junior brother Xian Fang has already instructed the sect's disciples, I came late because of some matters. There are still some matters that I need to take note of, so please wait a moment." Taoist Master Jian Ming frowned and was about to refute. "You came late because of yourself. You can't let everyone wait for your Yingshan Immortal Academy." However, before he could say anything, he heard Taoist Master Gu Hun suddenly say with a smile, "Taoist Master Xian Ping, please do as you please. Anyway, the space will be open for a month, so it won't make much of a difference." Taoist Master Jian Ming bitterly shut his mouth and did not say anything. Lu Ping glanced at Taoist Master Jian Ming and smiled faintly. Then, he stretched out his hand and waved. After Lu Ping's arm waved, a multicolored light enveloped him and the group of Immortal Academy disciples, leaving only Taoist Master Lu Xianyuan and Taoist Master Xian Fang outside, exchanging pleasantries with the other 2 sects' cultivators. When Immortal Academy's disciples heard that Elder Xian Ping was actually going to personally instruct them on something, their faces immediately revealed excited expressions. What kind of person was Elder Xian Ping? He was publicly acknowledged as number 1 under Heavenly Mountain's old ancestor. It was to the extent where not a single disciple from Immortal Academy had ever seen Elder Xian Ping before. Outside the multicolored cloud, Pang Feiyun looked at the undulating cloud, and his eyes constantly flickered with an indescribable brilliance. Suddenly, Pang Feiyun seemed to have made up his mind about something. A ray of light flickered in his sleeve, but it was hidden by his sleeve. Lu Ping, who was hidden by the multicolored cloud, was about to give some instructions to the Immortal Academy disciples, but he suddenly frowned and sneered. It seems that the lesson was not enough. Pang Feiyun had been indifferent and silent since he arrived here, so his actions just now were not noticed by the people present. However, Pang Feiyun seemed to have noticed that his secret technique had worked, so he turned his body slightly, as if he wanted to put one ear in the direction of the multicolored cloud, so that he could detect something through the secret technique. However, at this moment, the originally calm multicolored cloud suddenly fluctuated violently like a huge wave. Everyone, including Taoist Master Lu Xianyuan and Taoist Master Xian Fang, looked at the multicolored cloud behind them in surprise, but they heard Pang Feiyun let out a painful groan. When everyone looked at Pang Feiyun, they saw that his face was deathly pale, and there was a faint trace of blood seeping out of his left ear. Everyone immediately understood what was going on. Taoist Master Fei Hong sighed and took out a colorful bottle from the storage magic tool on his wrist. He poured out a crystal-clear pill from inside and handed it to Pang Feiyun to swallow. Taoist Master Xian Fang looked at the pill that Taoist Master Fei Hong took out and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He had obviously recognized the name of the pill, and this pill was obviously a quite famous and precious item. Taoist Master Lu Xianyuan gave Pang Feiyun a meaningful look, but he didn't say anything. Taoist Master Fei Hong smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything. Only Pang Feiyun closed his eyes to refine the medicinal power after swallowing the pill. Lu Ping glanced coldly outside the cloud light 5 elements robe, then turned around to look at the Immortal Academy's disciples with reverence on their faces. He smiled and said, "You are all the elites of the Immortal Academy in the past 10 years. This time, entering the Fist Valley is undoubtedly an opportunity. If you can gain something from the space, the sect will naturally not be stingy with your rewards. The door to the mid-stage blood condensation realm will no longer be a problem for you. Once you cross the threshold of the mid-stage blood condensation realm, it means that you have the qualifications to become a disciple of the Immortal Academy's core forging masters. This means that you will receive more cultivation resources, more pointers, more profound cultivation techniques, and more powerful spells. In the future, you will also be able to go further in the cultivation world." This was not Lu Ping boasting. With his current status, if he took care of these disciples a little, not to mention advancing to the mid-stage blood condensation realm, even the late-stage blood condensation realm would not be a problem. Many of the disciples were excited by Lu Ping's promises and words. They couldn't wait to enter the Fist Valley right now. Lu Ping glanced at the few disciples who were still calm, including Du Jialua and Tianyu, who had his cultivation sealed. He said calmly, "You don't have to be too happy. There are also great risks in the space. Remember, the most dangerous thing in the space is not the various dangers and the demonic beasts inside, but the cultivators from the various sects who entered with you." Looking at the solemn and thoughtful disciples in front of him, Lu Ping knew that they were naturally smart people who could stand out among hundreds of disciples in the past 10 years. They could naturally understand what he meant. Lu Ping waved his hand, and 18 jade slips appeared between the 18 disciples. Lu Ping gestured for everyone to pick up a jade slip, then he said, "These 18 jade slips record the map of the Fist Valley. Some areas with a higher concentration of spirit herbs are marked in the jade slips. There are also dozens of images of spirit herbs recorded at the bottom of the jade slips. Remember them all. Although these spirit herbs are 500-year and 1,000-year spirit herbs, they are extremely rare and precious compared to other spirit herbs. When you are harvesting spirit herbs in the space, you must prioritize harvesting these things." After everyone memorized the map and pictures of spiritual herbs in the jade slips, Tian Yu was the first to crush the jade slip in his hand. The other disciples were surprised at first, but they immediately understood what Lu Ping meant and crushed the jade slips in their hands. Lu Ping nodded in satisfaction. He then flipped his palm, and another 18 talismans appeared in his hand. He said, "These 18 talismans have two effects. One is that after you enter the space, as long as you are not more than 5 miles away from each other, the talismans will sense each other. It will make it easier for you to gather together and work together." The 18 disciples were overjoyed. They picked up the talismans that landed in front of them and hid them close to their bodies. However, Lu Ping continued, "The second effect of these talismans is protection. I believe they can withstand a blow from a third-layer blood condensation cultivator without shattering. Originally, I would have given you guys better talismans. However, this space is very strange. Once the aura of a cultivator above the third layer of the blood condensation realm leaks out, the space around that cultivator will shatter. I don't need to say more about the result." After Lu Ping finished speaking, all the disciples trembled. Lu Ping's gaze turned to Tianyu. Tianyu had sealed his cultivation, but Lu Ping knew that Tianyu wasn't good at fighting. If he broke through the seal in a dangerous situation, only death would await Tianyu. Since Lu Ping already had the intention to accept disciples, he naturally wouldn't allow any accidents to happen to them. However, the rare look of determination on Tianyu's face surprised Lu Ping. According to Lu Ping's knowledge, although Tianyu was quite talented in the field of pill refinement, he was a relatively timid person. Originally, Lu Ping thought that the Immortal Academy sent him because they couldn't gather 18 blood condensation disciples. Now, it seemed like Tianyu took the initiative to send him. Chapter 709. Lu Ping knew that Yingshan Immortal Academy's foundation was shallow. The cultivation of the 18 disciples was uneven and they didn't have much experience. If they entered the space now, it would be easy for others to take advantage of them. Thus, he had no choice but to rack his brains and leave behind more methods to prevent his own disciples from suffering heavy losses. In fact, Lu Ping also knew that this was the reason why Tianshan Laozu wanted him to come here. Lu Ping didn't care about the Academy's matters for the past 10 years. Tianshan Laozu wanted him to worry about the Academy. At the same time, he wanted to establish his prestige among the many disciples of Yingshan Immortal Academy. After receiving the spiritual talisman, the disciples saw that Lu Ping didn't remove the rainbow mist around them. They were overjoyed. Could it be that this elder Xian Ping was going to give them more treasures? Looking at the excited disciples around him, Tianyu couldn't help but twitch his mouth. This was nothing. It couldn't even be compared to a single hair in Taoist Xian Ping's 9 oxen. If they knew that this person in front of them was known as the boy of many treasures, who knew how shocked they would be. As expected, Lu Ping still had more methods to give out. He took out a spirit beast bag and formed a few hand seals towards the sealed spirit beast bag. The originally sealed spirit beast bag was immediately opened. A buzzing sound rang out, and under the expectant gazes of Tianyu and Tianyu's astonished gazes, 18 fist-sized demonic wasps flew out from the spirit beast pouch. Their transparent wings flapped rapidly, and they gave off an aura that struck fear into the hearts of all the disciples. These 18 demonic bees were all at the third layer of the core forging realm. Under Lu Ping's command, the 18 demonic bees landed on the shoulders of the disciples under the fearful gazes of the disciples. Lu Ping naturally wouldn't reveal the name of the amethyst wasps. He only said, "These are demon soldiers that I've specially trained." Each of these 18 wasps has a cultivation of the third layer of the blood condensation realm. Although the true cultivation of a demon soldier is far weaker than human or demonic beast cultivators of the same cultivation realm, they will still be of great help to you. Furthermore, these wasps have a special ability to sense spiritual herbs and flowers. When the time comes, you will have a map to refer to and the wasps to guide you. I believe that your harvest will not be inferior to the other two sects. Demon soldiers. The disciples carefully looked at the amethyst wasps on their shoulders, and their hearts surged with joy. Previously, when the Immortal Academy disciples saw that the other two sects were all at the third layer of the blood condensation realm, they were still a little apprehensive. But now, when they saw the third layer demonic bees on their shoulders, their previous apprehension was swept away. Because Wasp Queen Zilan had advanced to the core forging realm, the quality of the amethyst wasps in Lu Ping's hands had also greatly improved. More than a third of the thousands of amethyst wasps had advanced to the blood condensation realm. Although 3 of these amethyst wasps might not be as strong as a human or demonic beast cultivator of the same cultivation realm, it was already a great help to the Immortal Academy disciples. It was even more beneficial than giving them a high-grade magic tool. Actually, Lu Ping wanted to give them more, so that every cultivator could control a batch of amethyst wasps. However, these wasps were Zilan's subordinates, and Zilan had recognized Lu Ping as her master. Even if Lu Ping wanted to give them the amethyst wasps, these disciples would not be able to control them with their spiritual will. It was better to give each of them 1 amethyst wasps. This way, under Zilan's orders, these disciples would be able to control the amethyst wasps with their own spiritual will. What's more, once the amethyst wasps were given to a disciple, if that disciple died and the amethyst wasps were obtained by others, the news of Yingshan Immortal Academy possessing the amethyst wasps would be exposed. Then, the newly established Immortal Academy would immediately be suppressed by the various powers, and the Immortal Academy might even vanish into thin air. Moreover, the amethyst wasps could not be separated from the queen bee for too long. If they were separated for too long, the amethyst wasps would either dissipate on their own, or a new queen bee would be born. No matter which scenario it was, Lu Ping was not willing to see it happen. However, if a cultivator only had 1 amethyst wasp, then there was no need to worry. Putting aside the fact that the amethyst wasps had disappeared from the cultivation world for so many years, it was doubtful that anyone would recognize them. Moreover, Lu Ping had also placed a restriction on these 18 amethyst wasps through Zilan. Once the aura of the cultivator they followed dissipated, they would also die. Lu Ping glanced at Du Jialua, and a trace of hesitation could be seen in his eyes. Following which, he seemed to have made up his mind. He raised his head and said, "The other disciples can leave for now. Only a few disciples at the 3rd level of the blood condensation realm can stay. I have some instructions here." The other disciples looked at the only 4 disciples at the 3rd level of the blood condensation realm from the Immortal Academy with looks of envy. Elder Xian Ping naturally had instructions for the few disciples with the highest cultivation to stay behind. Perhaps, these people might even receive some benefits from Elder Xian Ping. However, they couldn't blame others for this. Who asked them to be weaker than Elder Xian Ping? Lu Ping saw 3 of the disciples looking smug. They all looked at Lu Ping with bright eyes, as if waiting for him to give them other instructions. Lu Ping smiled, then turned to Tian Yu and asked, "Have you thought it through? You are not good at fighting. Now that your cultivation has been sealed, if you break the seal and use magic power beyond the 3rd level of the blood condensation realm, you will die for sure." Tian Yu hesitated for a moment when he heard Lu Ping's words, but his eyes regained clarity in an instant. He nodded at Lu Ping and said, "Don't worry, Uncle Master. Since disciple has already made up his mind, then life and death are up to fate." Lu Ping smiled and didn't say anything else. However, there was a trace of admiration in his eyes for Tian Yu. Lu Ping looked at the 4 people in front of him and took out 4 more jade slips from his storage magic tool. He said, "The map I gave you earlier is actually not complete. There are 4 other maps in these 4 jade slips. They might record areas that the cultivators who entered before the space opened. There might be a large number of higher quality spiritual herbs in these areas." Tian Yu's eyes lit up. He was a true alchemist. Although Lu Ping's words were vague, for a grandmaster like Lu Ping to say, higher quality spiritual herbs, it meant that the spiritual herbs growing in these unknown areas were only 3,000 years old. once you encounter these spiritual herbs, you don't have to hesitate. Just collect them as much as you want. However, there are more than 20 spiritual herbs that you have to pay special attention to. If you encounter these spiritual herbs, you have to collect them carefully and store them in a special spirit sealing jade box. Lu Ping naturally wouldn't just tell them about the rare 3,000-year-old spiritual herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill. Instead, he arranged them in a random order with the other rare 3,000-year-old spiritual herbs. This way, even if someone saw these spiritual herbs, they wouldn't be able to associate them with the spirit forging pill. Lu Ping handed a few spirit sealing boxes made of jade crystals to the disciples and took out 4 small spirit beast pouches. The 4 of them didn't feel numb when they saw Lu Ping's endless methods. Instead, they were pleasantly surprised. Being able to see Elder Xian Ping today was enough for them to hold their heads high in front of everyone even if they didn't go to the Fist Valley. Lu Ping handed the 4 spirit beast bags to the 4 of them and passed a set of techniques to them. Then, he said, each of these 4 storage bags contains 50 demonic bees at the late stage of the blood refining realm. After you use the techniques I just passed to you, you can use these demonic bees to form the demon soldier formation. With this demon soldier formation, you will at least have the strength of a blood condensation realm cultivator. Lu Ping looked at the 4 of them and said, however, I don't want you to use this demon soldier formation to fight with others. I've already set up some things in the spirit beast bags. Whenever you find a patch of spiritual grass, you must first release these demonic bees to collect nectar. At the same time, these demonic bees can also help you patrol and warn you. After that, you can start collecting the spiritual grass. Do you understand? Seeing the 4 of them nodding, Lu Ping said, if the 4 of you return, I will reward each of you with half a caddy of nectar brewed by the demonic bees. At the same time, prepare to go into seclusion and break through to the late stage of the blood condensation realm. Lu Ping's words stunned the 4 of them at first. Then, they became overjoyed. The meaning behind Lu Ping's words couldn't be clearer. The other 3 third-level blood condensation disciples were excited because Lu Ping was going to help them advance to the mid-stage of the blood condensation realm, but Tian Yu was excited because of the half a caddy of nectar. Tian Yu naturally knew about the demonic bees Lu Ping took out. Those were one of Daoist Master Xian Ping's trump cards, the amethyst bees that had been extinct in the cultivation world for a long time. Half a caddy of nectar brewed by the amethyst bees. If news of this got out, any alchemist or even grandmaster alchemist would go crazy. With half a caddy of amethyst bee nectar in hand, how many cultivation resources that could help them advance to the late stage of the blood condensation realm couldn't be bought. Not to mention, the nectar itself was an essential ingredient for many kinds of pills. After the 4 of them memorized the map Lu Ping gave them and the method to control the amethyst bees, they crushed the jade slips again. Lu Ping nodded and said solemnly, that's all. After you enter the space, just be careful. Remember what I said today and don't leak it. Otherwise, it will bring trouble to the Immortal Academy, and even your lives will be in danger. Lu Ping didn't wait for the others to reply. He stretched out his hand and grasped it. The surrounding 5-colored clouds quickly shrunk into Lu Ping's hand. A moment later, the clouds turned into a faintly discernible 5-colored robe. Lu Ping clenched his fist and the clothes disappeared from his hand. At the same time, the crowd looked around and saw the Shan Yu sect and Gu clan cultivators, as well as enlightened Master Lu Xian Yuan and the others, looking at Lu Ping and the 4 third-layer blood condensation realm cultivators. Lu Ping smiled and said, my apologies, I have something to tell the disciples. I've delayed everyone's time. Gu Hun smiled and said, it's fine. The space will be open for a month anyway, so what's a little delay? But seeing how Daoist Xianping gave us such detailed instructions, you seem to be very familiar with the Fist Valley space. Could it be that Daoist Xianping already has some understanding of the Fist Valley space? Lu Ping could be considered an iron-faced person in the cultivation world who wouldn't blush when he lied. He chuckled and said, Daoist Gu must be joking. I've never heard of this Fist Valley space before, but I've intentionally collected some books about the Yingtian sect in Hebei. Among them, there were many descriptions of the secret realms left behind by the Yingtian sect. I believe that the layout of the Yingtian sect in the Fist Valley space might be similar, so I gave some instructions to my disciples. Lu Ping skillfully controlled the autumn dew sword to stab into the two nodes of the formation far away from each other. A steady stream of vigorous Xin Yuan was injected into the formation, maintaining the entire spatial passage. Perfected Jian Ming turned around and said solemnly, "The tunnel has been opened. Disciples from all sects, quickly enter the space of the Fist Valley. 3 months later, we will open the tunnel again for 1 day. If you can't come out by then, the space of the tunnel will collapse again. If you want to come out, you will have to wait for 300 years. No one was amused by Perfected Jian Ming's joke. 60 early-stage blood condensation realm cultivators from all sects entered in a single file, passed through the light screen of the tunnel, and disappeared. After all the disciples entered the space, Gu Han from the Gu family bid farewell to everyone and left first, leaving only Perfected Jian Ming and Master Gu Zhou to guard the space tunnel. The space would open in 3 months, so there was no need for everyone to stay here. After a while, Pang Feiyun also found an excuse to leave. Previously, he tried to use a rare treasure to spy on Lu Ping's instructions to the Celestial Academy disciples, but he was stopped by the spirit-nurturing treasure, the Cloud Radiance 5 Elements robe. Then, he suffered a loss from Lu Ping, and his divine sense was almost scattered by Lu Ping. Now, he was in a hurry to go back and recover from his injuries. Perfected Lu Xianyuan looked back at Lu Ping and said, "Don't tell me you're going to leave too." Lu Ping was stunned. He did want to leave just now, but after hearing Perfected Lu Xuanyuan's words, he was too embarrassed to just leave. Perfected Lu Xianyuan chuckled and said, "Senior brother, I'm the Mountain Elder of the Celestial Academy now. I can't say that I have a myriad of affairs to attend to every day, but I'm still quite busy. In that case, I'll have to trouble Junior Brother Lu and Junior Brother Xian Fang to look after me again." Lu Ping nodded helplessly, while Perfected Xian Fang was secretly delighted. In fact, this time, Perfected Lu Xianyuan had received Perfected Xian Fang's request, hoping that he could ask Lu Ping for some advice on alchemy. Although Perfected Xian Fang was also an alchemy master, compared to an alchemy grandmaster like Lu Ping, the gap between them could not be calculated. It was extremely rare to receive guidance from an alchemy grandmaster. Perfected Xian Fang was a well-deserved alchemy genius among the third-generation disciples of Zhenling. It was only because of a monstrous genius like Lu Ping that he had been living in a state of desperation to catch up with Lu Ping, only to be left further and further behind. After coming to Yingshan Immortal Academy this time, especially when he saw Lu Ping, Perfected Xian Fang suddenly realized that although he had always regarded Lu Ping as a competitor, the latter did not seem to care about him at all. Or it could be said that he did not even have the qualifications to be his competitor. Although Perfected Xian Fang was depressed, he seemed to have put down a heavy burden in his heart. Hence, he had the intention to ask Lu Ping for advice. At this moment, Perfected Xian Fang did not have the slightest bit of jealousy or other thoughts. He only had the pursuit and passion for alchemy. At this time, Perfected Xian Fang realized that perhaps he had subconsciously given up the idea of competing with Lu Ping, just like how he took care of Tianyu in the Pill Pavilion. Although it was because of Tianyu's own alchemy talent, Perfected Xian Fang seemed to intentionally or unintentionally want to reveal the intention of reconciliation to Lu Ping through Tianyu. It was just that he was also a genius of Zhenling after all. He had his own pride. Even though he knew that it would be difficult for him to reach the height of Lu Ping in this life, it was difficult for him to give up the competitive spirit in his heart. Over time, it became a demon that restricted the improvement of his alchemy skills. In fact, As one of the top alchemy masters of Xinling, as long as perfected Xian Fang was willing, whether it was Tianlu Laozu or Tianqin Laozu, these two alchemy grandmasters would naturally give him pointers on alchemy. In fact, it was precisely because perfected Xian Fang's alchemy skills had reached a bottleneck that when he asked Tianlu Laozu for advice on how to break through, Tianlu Laozu was silent for a long time and told him to go back first before telling him the method. Unexpectedly, a few days later, the sect sent him news that they wanted to transfer him to the Central Plains. Although perfected Xian Fang did not understand, he did not disobey the sect's order. It was just that at that time, Immortal Academy had just been built and there were many things waiting to be done. Tian Shan Laozu's requirements for alchemy masters were very urgent, but it just so happened that the alchemy grandmaster Lu Ping was in seclusion. Therefore, perfected Xian Fang did not have time to ask Tianlu Laozu for the method to break through the bottleneck before he came to the Central Plains. During the several years he spent in Yingshan Immortal Academy, although perfected Xian Fang's alchemy skills did not improve, the success rate of alchemy that he had mastered had increased a lot. Moreover, his cultivation had also broken through to the middle stage of core forging. After Lu Ping came out of seclusion, when perfected Xian Fang saw Lu Ping in front of the main hall of Immortal Academy, he finally understood the purpose of the sect transferring him to the Central Plains. It was to let him face Lu Ping and completely abandon the last trace of his demon. After understanding the cause and effect, perfected Xian Fang completely let go of his previous obsession and hoped to communicate with Lu Ping. Therefore, he wanted to talk to Lu Ping alone through perfected Lu Xianyuan in the name of asking for advice on alchemy. Perfected Lu Xianyuan knew about the conflict between Lu Ping and perfected Xian Fang. Although perfected Lu Xianyuan found this kind of trivial matter funny, perfected Xian Fang was after all the alchemy grandmaster of the sect. In terms of status and identity, perfected Lu Xianyuan was even more happy to see him take the initiative to reconcile with Lu Ping, so he agreed. Therefore, the always honest perfected Lu Xianyuan actually played a scoundrel with Lu Ping. However, it seemed like the heavens also found perfected Xian Fang interesting and wanted to play a joke on him. Just when Lu Ping agreed to stay behind with perfected Lu Xianyuan, Lu Ping looked up at the sky upstream of Ying River in surprise. When perfected Lu Xianyuan saw Lu Ping like this, he also looked up and saw a ray of light approaching from afar. When it got close, perfected Lu Xianyuan said in surprise, "It's perfected Li Nan. How did he get here?" Lu Ping recognized this perfected Li Nan. He was the guest cultivator at the 6th layer of core forging who did his best to protect a few Immortal Academy disciples from being killed by junior martial brother Wang. This guest cultivator could be considered as one of the first batch of cultivators to join Immortal Academy. In these years, he could be considered capable and experienced. In fact, Guo Shan, Laozu, and perfected Lu Xianyuan had long understood perfected Li Nan's purpose. His cultivation had been stuck at the peak of the 6th layer of core forging for many years. However, due to his status as a rogue cultivator and the flaws in his cultivation method, he was unable to break through to the late stage of core forging. The reason he joined Immortal Academy was to perfect his cultivation heritage and break through to the late stage of core forging. However, at that time, Immortal Academy had just been established and people's hearts were hard to predict. Guo Shan, Laozu, and the others naturally had to be on guard. How could they easily leak their family's heritage? However, in these 10 years, perfected Li Nan's reputation in Immortal Academy was quite good. Especially after the battle between perfected Xianping and the Gu clan, perfected Li Nan finally received the recognition of many cultivators in Immortal Academy. When perfected Li Nan descended, perfected Lu Xianyuan asked doubtfully, "Brother Li, how did you get here?" In Immortal Academy, only perfected masters of core forging who came from the North Sea under Tian Shan Laozu knew about the Fist Valley space. The other core forging juniors would not tell perfected Li Nan about it. Therefore, there was only one possibility for perfected Li Nan to come here. Perfected Li Nan let out a breath and said, "Tian Shan Laozu just sent a message saying that a guest from afar has arrived." He wants the two of you to return to Immortal Academy as soon as possible after the matter in the Fist Valley space is settled. Lu Ping and perfected Lu Xianyuan looked at each other in surprise. Guest from afar was a term used by Immortal Academy to refer to cultivators from their own sects in the North Sea. Guo Tian Shan Laozu actually asked perfected Li Nan to send such a message. It could be seen that perfected Li Nan had passed Guo Tian Shan Laozu's test. Lu Ping and perfected Lu Xianyuan smiled and cupped their hands at perfected Li Nan. They said, "Congratulations, Brother Li." Perfected Li Nan was stunned at first, but his face immediately revealed an ecstatic expression. He stammered, "You too, this. Perfected Lu Xianyuan patted perfected Li Nan's shoulder and said, "I'll have to trouble Brother Li and junior brother Xianfang to look after this place for the time being. Junior brother Xianping and I will return to the sect first." Chapter 711. Enlightened Master Lu Xianyuan was a little surprised, but Lu Ping looked at the woman in front of him in shock. Enlightened Master Xian Kai looked at Lu Ping's expression and found it funny. She said, "Junior Martial Brother Lu, we haven't met for a few decades. Why are you so distant?" Lu Ping blushed and smiled embarrassedly. "I didn't expect it to be Senior Martial Sister Qi who came from home. I haven't heard much news about Senior Martial Sister Qi in the sect. But after seeing Senior Martial Sister's cultivation, I finally understand." This time, Jinling sent 5 core forging cultivators to Yingshan Immortal Academy. The one leading them was Enlightened Master Xian Kai, who was in front of Lu Ping. Lu Ping recognized this Enlightened Master Xian Kai and had a deep impression of her. She was Qi Zicai, one of the 18 generals of the North Sea, before Enlightened Master Lu Xianyuan advanced to core forging. In fact, Lu Ping wasn't completely clueless about Qi Zicai's situation. She was a famous cultivator in the past, so Lu Ping had naturally asked about her recent situation. Back then, he heard that Qi Zicai had encountered a huge bottleneck in her breakthrough to the core forging realm. Even after Enlightened Master Lu Xianyuan and the others advanced to the core forging realm, she was still stuck at the peak of the blood condensation realm. Later on, he heard that she basically had no hope of advancing to core forging. Lu Ping felt that it was a pity for a period of time. Although Qi Zicai was a woman, she was very capable and experienced. She left a deep impression on Lu Ping. After Lu Ping spent most of his time traveling, he didn't hear any news about her. Today, he saw Qi Zicai again. Not only had she broken through to the core forging realm, she seemed to be the same as Lu Xianyuan. She was also a cultivator who had accumulated a lot of experience. In less than 100 years, she had risen from the late blood condensation realm to the 6th layer core forging realm. However, Lu Ping could feel from her aura that Enlightened Master Xian Kai's cultivation seemed to have just advanced and stabilized after a period of seclusion. Speaking of Zhenling sect's 3rd-generation disciples, they could be roughly divided into 3 different age groups. The first stage consisted of Daoist Master Xian Tian, Daoist Master Xian Hui, Daoist Master Xian Ru, Daoist Master Xian Hui, and other disciples of the 2nd generation of Zhenling. These disciples had already reached the 5th or 6th layer of core forging. As for the more outstanding disciples like Xiantian Jinren, they had already stepped into the late core forging stage and had begun to peak at the transcendence stage, preparing to advance to the transcendence stage. The second group consisted of disciples like Lu Xianyuan, Qi Xiankai, Daoist Master Xian Shang, and Daoist Master Xian Lei. They had joined the 2nd generation of Zhenling's disciples relatively late and had only cultivated for a short period of time. However, the more accomplished disciples had already advanced to the mid-core forging stage. The more outstanding disciples like Lu Xianyuan, Qi Xiankai, and Daoist Master Xian Shang had already advanced to the 6th layer of core forging and were beginning to work towards the late core forging stage. The third group was the disciples represented by Lu Ping, Ji Xianxian, Yao Xianyong, Du Xianfeng, Chen Xuanlian, and the others. In this group of disciples, those who were successful had also advanced to the core forging realm, and the more outstanding ones were also in the mid-core forging realm. Of course, there was also an outlier like Lu Ping in this group of disciples. However, when the third generation of Jinling's disciples discussed each other's cultivation realms, they often automatically ignored this person. This was not a person who could be judged by common sense, but rather a monster. There were also 2 late core forging stage cultivators who came with Taoist master Xian Kai, and they were both acquaintances of Lu Ping. One was Liang Tianfeng Laozu's disciple, Taoist master Zhang Xianbei, who had just advanced to the transcendence stage. The other was Taoist master Xianyu, who was rather taciturn back in the East Sea. These 2 Taoists were above Taoist master Xian Kai in terms of cultivation and experience. However, this time, Jinling had actually sent Taoist master Xian Kai to replace Taoist master Lu Xianyuan as the mountain elder. Thus, Taoist master Xian Kai became the leader of the group of 5. The arrival of Taoist master Xian Bei and Taoist master Xian Yu was to increase the number of late core forging stage cultivators in Immortal Academy. This was also what Guo Tianshan Laozu had strongly requested of the sect after the battle between Lu Ping and the 3 heroes of the Gu clan. At the same time, there were also 2 mid-core forging stage cultivators. One was also an acquaintance of Lu Ping, it was Chen Lian's junior, Taoist master Xian Tao. Lu Ping had a good impression of him. Back then, when Taoist master Lu Hai led the demon clan to besiege Huangli Island, this Taoist master Xian Tao happened to be present. At that time, he also played a great role in the battle. Later, when Yin Xuanchu's identity as a mixed human and demon was exposed, he also helped Yin Xianchu escape with Lu Ping and the others without hesitation. Of course, the reason why Taoist master Xian Tao could come to Immortal Academy was also the result of Tianshan Laozu's strong request. The reason was very simple. Currently, Immortal Academy did not have a decent tool refiner, and this Taoist master Xian Tao was one of the only 2 tool refiners in Jinling's 3rd generation disciples, second only to Chen Lian. The remaining Taoist master Xian Teng was someone Lu Ping did not know. After meeting her, Lu Ping found out that this Taoist master Xian Teng was actually a talisman master of the Talisman Pavilion. However, she was not under Taoist master Xian Ju, but the disciple of another talisman master. With the addition of these 5 people, Yingshan Immortal Academy's strength would undoubtedly rise to a higher level. Not to mention the addition of a tool refiner and a talisman master, the addition of Taoist master Xian Bei and Taoist master Xian Yu, these 2 late-stage core forging cultivators would also greatly increase the strength of the Immortal Academy's core forging cultivators. At the very least, after the incident with the Gu clan's 3 heroes, the experts of Immortal Academy would not be stretched too thin. It must be known that when Taoist master Xian Bei advanced to the late stage of core forging, he used a high-grade earth-ranked spirit object, and Taoist master Xian Yu also smelted a mid-grade earth-ranked dual-attribute spirit object. Although the quality of the smelted spirit object was only one aspect of a cultivator's strength, at the very least, Taoist master Xian Bei and Taoist master Xian Yu were not weaklings among cultivators of the same level. After the 5 people came to Immortal Academy, they quickly joined and established their reputation among the many disciples, establishing their own positions, especially Taoist master Xian Kai. Because she wanted to take over Taoist master Lu Xuanyuan's position as mountain elder, she had to follow Taoist master Lu Xianyuan and familiarize herself with everything in Immortal Academy. After a year, Taoist master Lu Xianyuan would return to the North Sea and prepare to advance to the late stage of core forging. After the 5 newcomers were led by Taoist master Lu Xianyuan to familiarize themselves with the situation in Immortal Academy, Lu Ping turned to Guo Tianshan Laozu and said with a smile, "Martial uncle, it seems that the momentum of the sect's development these years is still good. Otherwise, according to the information that senior brother Xiantian brought back about the North Sea's cultivation world, although our sect still has the advantage in the North Sea, it would not be easy to easily transfer 2 late-stage core forging cultivators, a master refiner, and a talisman master. Guo Tianshan Laozu smiled and said, "The harvest from Ying Tian Dojo has deepened the foundation of the sects in the North Sea. Although the sects in the North Sea have developed with the treasures obtained from Ying Tian Dojo, our sect has gained the most, so our development is naturally faster. However, the most important reason why the sect is so generous this time is because of the East Sea." East Sea. Lu Ping's eyes lit up and said, "Did something go wrong in the Crystal Palace?" Guo Tianshan Laozu nodded, but he did not look relaxed. Instead, he looked a little solemn. After the Fist Valley space ends, you will first represent the Celestial Academy to the Spiritual Martial Sect to participate in the gathering of the Hebei cultivation world to encircle and annihilate Mara. Martial Uncle Tianfeng and Martial Uncle Tiancheng are also coming. Lu Ping's expression turned cold. His intuition told him that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Thus, he said, "Are the two martial uncles here in secret?" Guo Tianshan Laozu looked deeply at Lu Ping and said, "The news that the two of them have broken through to the Dharma stage has not yet been leaked." Guo Tianshan Laozu thought for a while and seemed to want to explain the matter more thoroughly. Thus, he continued, "After the destruction of the Ying Tian sect, the spiritual martial sect is the most powerful sect in Hebei. This sect already has the strength of a large sect. All they need is the recognition of the 5 great holy lands to officially enter the threshold of a large sect." Lu Ping took a deep breath and said, "I know what to do." Chapter 712. 4,000 years ago, the Azure Sea sect suddenly split into 2 sects, the Azure Sea sect and the Azure Waves sect. The previous huge sect suddenly collapsed, which greatly shocked the cultivation world of the North Sea. From then on, Jinling passed down a rule. Apart from Jinling's sect's encampment and dojo, any other Jinling cultivators who opened up cave abodes, dojo, or side courtyards in other regions would have to rotate after 10 years. The purpose of this rule was to prevent the high-ranking cultivators from the sect from having the idea of breaking out after establishing their own sects for too long. Back then, Tian Shui Laozu guarded Huanyu Island. Later, it was Tian Kang Laozu, and now, it was Jiang Tianlin Laozu. After Lu Ping opened up Huangli Island, Jiang Tianlin Laozu was the first to guard it, which was later replaced by Tian Qin Laozu. As for the Jingzha Island in the East Sea, after Tian Xiang Laozu became a grand cultivator and returned to Tian Ling Mountain to guard it, it was left empty for a period of time. After Jiang Tianlin Laozu returned to the North Sea from Ying Mountain Range to replace Tian Kang Laozu in guarding Huanyu Island, Tian Kang Laozu went to the East Sea to guard Jingzha Island. After Lu Ping opened up Huangli Island, although he was not considered a true high-ranking cultivator at that time, he now had the right. Luckily, Lu Ping had always been a hands-off manager, handing Huangli Island to Hu Lili to manage. In addition, Jiang Tianlin Laozu and Tian Qin Laozu guarded the island. Lu Tianling Laozu's authority as the sect leader was growing day by day. Therefore, although there had always been people in the sect who were jealous of the large cultivation resources on Huangli Island, they had always tried to get their hands on the benefits of Huangli Island under the name of Jinling's tradition of rotating guards. They had never succeeded. Yingshan Immortal Academy was naturally no exception. Logically speaking, this time Guo Tianshan Laozu also needed to be rotated. However, this place was after all far away from the North Sea, and it was still in its early stages. In addition, they needed to hide the fact that Celestial Academy was Jinling's backing. Dharma adepts were such a huge target. Once people found out that Celestial Academy's Dharma adept had suddenly been replaced by someone else, it would naturally raise the suspicions of other powers. Therefore, Guo Tianshan Laozu's position could not be changed, but Spiritual Master Lu Xuanyuan's position as Mountain Elder had to be changed. Just Guo Tianshan Laozu's identity as a direct disciple meant that even if Spiritual Master Lu Xianyuan did not take up the position of Mountain Elder, he could not stay in Celestial Academy for long. Even though the change of Celestial Academy's Mountain Elder would also attract the attention of other powers, compared to replacing Tian Shan Laozu, this target was much smaller. Moreover, spiritual master Lu Xianyuan was not too far away from the peak of the 6th level of core forging. He could completely use the excuse of breaking through to the late stage of core forging to resign from his position as Mountain Elder. This time, Tianfeng Laozu and Tiancheng Laozu had secretly sneaked into Central Plains. Although Lu Ping had already guessed some things from Tian Shan Laozu's words, in reality, the other meaning of the two Laozu's arrival was also to supplement the Zhenling's rotating inheritance. Since it could not be rotated, then it was simply a situation of mutual restraint. Even though everyone was well aware of this, this was, after all, the tradition of Zhenling, and no one could say anything about it. Several days later, in the cave under the cliff at the back of the Immortal Academy, the ultra-long-distance teleportation array lit up once again. Lu Ping accompanied Tian Shan Laozu outside the stone room to welcome the arrival of the two Laozu. After the destruction of the Ying Tian sect, no more large sects appeared in the northern part of the Yulan River. Without the suppression of the Ying Tian sect, many of the medium-sized sects in this region began to develop with all their might, intending to raise their own sects into large powers, obtain the recognition of the 5 great cultivation holy lands of the Central Plains, and rule over a region of the Central Plains. However, in the past 4,000 years, the various powers in the Hebei cultivation world had fought over each other. Every time a sect rose to prominence, they would be suppressed by the other sects, forming a situation of mutual restraint. In the end, no sect was able to successfully develop into a large power. This time, it was the Spirit Martial sect's turn to have a chance. The Spirit Martial sect had been hiding their strength and biding their time for hundreds of years. They had always kept a low profile in the Hebei cultivation world and secretly accumulated their strength. After nearly 1,000 years of hard work, the Spirit Martial sect finally possessed the strength of a large sect. Even so, the Laozu of the Spirit Martial sect still decided to keep a low profile. Although the Spirit Martial sect already possessed the strength of a large power, once the various medium-sized powers of the Hebei cultivation world joined forces, the Spirit Martial sect would still be suppressed. Therefore, the Laozu of the Spirit Martial sect decided to continue to endure. They would either wait for the sect's strength to grow to the point where the other sects were unable to stop them, or wait for a suitable opportunity to quickly obtain the recognition of the 5 great holy lands and never establish their position as a large sect. And it just so happened that at this time, the Hebei cultivation world had become the first stop for the Azura and the demonic cultivators to wreak havoc, opening the prelude to the great calamity of the cultivation world. For the Spirit Martial sect, this was an opportunity that they had no choice but to fight for, no matter good or bad. The entire Hebei cultivation world had been harassed by Mara. All the sects had suffered heavy losses from Mara's attacks, and the Spirit Martial sect was no exception. However, when the Spirit Martial sect faced the attack of Mara's army, in order to reduce the sect's losses, they had no choice but to display their full strength in front of the Hebei cultivation world. 2 Grand Adepts, 3 Mid-Dharma Adepts, and 6 Early Dharma Adepts. The 11 Dharma Adepts of Laozu had shaken the entire cultivation world. The Spirit Martial sect had hidden themselves so deeply. With the sect's protective array and the powerful strength of the 11 Dharma Laozu, although the Spirit Martial sect had suffered a large group of Azuras and demonic cultivators, their losses were the least in the entire Hebei cultivation world. Among the 11 Dharma Adepts, Laozu had not fallen. On the other hand, almost all of the other mid-sized forces had Dharma Adepts who had been injured or killed by Mara's rampage. Among them, the Gu family was one of the ones who had suffered the most. The Gu family originally had 3 mid-Dharma Laozu and 5 early Dharma Adepts. They were considered above average among the mid-sized forces in the Hebei cultivation world. However, during Mara's attack, 1 early Dharma Adept had fallen, and another early Dharma Adept had been seriously injured, almost losing any chance of improving his cultivation. Another mid-Dharma adept had suffered light injuries and would need a few years or even longer to recuperate. This kind of loss was considered a serious blow to the Gu family. Fortunately, the Gu family had managed to win over Changhe Laozu, who had been destroyed, and the remaining Yinghe sect adepts to join them. This could be considered to have slightly recovered. However, compared to the spirit martial sect, this little bit of strength was simply incomparable. For a time, the entire Hebei cultivation world was surging. Since the spirit martial sect had already revealed their strength, they decided not to hide it anymore. They actively began to send cultivators to the 5 holy lands, seeking the status of a large sect. As for the other sects and forces, while they were licking the wounds caused by Mara's rampage, they were also secretly forming alliances, preparing to snipe the rise of the spirit martial sect. For a time, the entire North Sea cultivation world was strangely quiet. However, the high-level cultivators of the various sects knew that this was just the last calm before the storm. Tian Shan Laozu explained the situation of the entire Hebei cultivation world to Tianfeng Laozu and Tiancheng Laozu in the rocky cave. Lu Ping sat at the side and listened. After Liang Tianfeng Laozu finished listening, he nodded and said, "The Immortal Academy is of great importance to our sect. Sooner or later, our sect will be exposed to the cultivation world of the Middle Earth and clash with the local forces. Instead of facing the suppression of the entire Hebei cultivation world led by the spirit martial sect, it would be better to participate in the game of all parties and help the Gu family and other forces to join forces to suppress the spirit martial sect, maintaining the situation of the entire Hebei cultivation world fighting separately and restraining each other." Chu Tiancheng Laozu also agreed, "That's right. In this way, with the support of our sect, the Immortal Academy can steadily rise and completely stabilize its foundation in the Hebei cultivation world. When the time comes, our sect will enter the Middle Earth cultivation world in one go. At that time, even if the Hebei cultivation world wants to stop us, it will be too late." Old ancestor Guo Tianshan nodded his head and said, "Previously, when the Gu family probed us, although we could be considered to have submitted, it also showed that the situation of the Gu family and the other medium-sized forces who wanted to fight against the spirit martial force was not very good. Even the Yingshan Immortal Academy and the Mountain Universe sect, which could barely be considered small sects, had to join the alliance to fight against the spirit martial force. This meant that the spirit martial force's allies were not weaker than their enemies, and this was our chance. As long as we took this opportunity to muddy the waters even more, it would be best if both sides suffered heavy losses, and only then would we be able to fight for more space for the Immortal Academy to grow." Liang Tianfeng Laozu pondered for a moment and said, "Although this is an opportunity, there is still a risk. Right now, the Immortal Academy is trying to find a way to preserve its strength while not letting the other sects see that we have ulterior motives." Chu Tiancheng Laozu said nonchalantly, "The Immortal Academy is just an unranked force right now. Even if we have some ulterior motives, they won't pay attention to us." Guo Tianshan Laozu thought for a moment and said, "It's best if the Immortal Academy has a Dharma cultivator in charge, but I have to participate in this matter. Otherwise, it will definitely arouse the suspicion of the Gu family. Senior Liang, Junior Chu, who do you think will stay at home?" When Chu Tiancheng Laozu heard this, he hurriedly said, "It's not easy to come out. Who wants to stay behind?" "Senior Liang, you can just stay in the Immortal Academy." Perfected Liang Xianfeng smiled and said, "The operation this time has to be done in the light and in the dark. The one in the light is Junior Brother Guo, and neither of us can replace him. The one in the dark focuses on sneak attacks and hiding our identities. After Junior Brother Xianin dies, who else in the sect can compare to me?" This, Chu Tiancheng Laozu was dumbfounded, but he could not find a reason to refute. He could only slap his thigh and say, "What bad luck." Lu Ping looked on from the side and found it funny. Unexpectedly, Chu Tiancheng Laozu glared at him and scolded, "What are you laughing at? I heard from Senior Jiang that you have already gathered enough ingredients to make the spirit forging pill. Have you made the spirit forging pill now?" Lu Ping didn't want to bring trouble to himself, so he quickly said, "I've gathered enough spirit herbs to make 2 cauldrons of spirit forging pellets." However, the concoction process for the spirit forging pellets is no small matter, so I haven't started the process yet. Chapter 713. Lu Ping looked at Tianqing Laozu and Tianfeng Laozu in confusion and asked, "Seniors, now that the recipe for the spirit forging pill has been gathered, could it be that with our sect's strength, we are still unable to gather all the herbs needed to refine the spirit forging pill? As for the 1,000 wonder dew, I believe that with our sect's tens of thousands of years of heritage, we should have at least a few drops." The spirit forging pill itself could only be considered a top-notch half-step Dharma elixir. Although the difficulty of refining it was no lower than that of a Dharma elixir, Zhenling now had Tianlu Laozu and Tianqin Laozu, 2 Dharma alchemists, as well as the precious cauldron that Jiang Tianlin Laozu had obtained from the Yingtian training hall. Refining such an elixir was a piece of cake. When Tianqing Laozu and Tianfeng Laozu heard that Lu Ping could actually gather enough herbs for 2 cauldrons of the spirit forging pill, they looked at each other in surprise. Not to mention the rare 3,000-year-old herbs, to be able to gather all the herbs needed for 2 cauldrons of the spirit forging pill, didn't that mean that Lu Ping had at least 2 drops of the 1,000 wonder dew in his hands? Although the spirit forging pill was a half-step Dharma elixir, the few 3,000-year-old herbs used to refine it were rather precious. Zhenling had only managed to gather enough herbs for 5 cauldrons of the spirit forging pill, but Lu Ping could gather 2 cauldrons of the 1,000 wonder dew himself. Tianfeng Laozu suppressed the shock in his heart and handed a jade bottle to Lu Ping. "Take a look at the contents of the bottle first." Lu Ping took the jade bottle with a puzzled look. After opening the bottle, a fragrant scent instantly filled the entire stone room. Lu Ping, who had a good understanding of the spirit forging pill, naturally knew that this was the pill fragrance emitted by the spirit forging pill. It seemed that the sect had already refined the spirit forging pill, but why did Tianfeng Laozu want him to take a look first? Doubts flashed across Lu Ping's mind. Then, he exclaimed in surprise. He gently flipped the jade bottle over and a purple pellet appeared in his palm. He held it in front of his eyes and carefully observed it for a moment. Then, a bluish-purple true essence emerged from his palm and wrapped around the pellet. After a short while, the Zhenyuan in Lu Ping's hand dissipated, and the pill returned to Daoist Tianfeng in the jade essence bottle. "How is it?" Tianfeng Laozu asked Lu Ping as he took the jade essence bottle. Lu Ping hesitated for a moment before saying, "Who made this pill?" From the way it was refined, there was nothing wrong with it. How come the medicinal effect of the spirit forging pill is only 70% that of a real spirit forging pill? Tianfeng Laozu nodded his head and said, "The pill you just saw was refined by Master Fornax. Moreover, he used the mountain and river treasured cauldron that Junior Tianlin obtained from the Yingtian dojo." Regardless of whether it was Master Fornax or Junior Tianqin, they used a top-grade cauldron or a magic treasure cauldron. Although the success rate of the spirit forging pill is different, the medicinal effect is the same. It is only 70% of the 8 spirit forging pills that you obtained from Fei Ling Mountain. With 2 Grandmasters Laozu working together, the reason why the spirit forging pill's medicinal effect was reduced couldn't be due to the alchemists. It must be known that Lu Ping's current alchemy skills couldn't compare to Tianfeng and Tianqin Laozu. Lu Ping's doubts flashed in his mind. Although he didn't expect this kind of accident to occur, after discovering the reason why the spirit forging pill refined by Tianfeng Laozu had decreased in effectiveness, he immediately thought of another reason. Tianqing Laozu looked at Lu Ping and asked with some eagerness, "How is it, boy? Did you think of the reason?" Lu Ping hesitated for a moment before saying, "Not yet, but this disciple needs to personally refine it in order to confirm some things." Could it be because of the water refinement? Tianqing Laozu glanced at Tianfeng Laozu beside him, then asked Lu Ping. Lu Ping shook his head and said, "The pills refined by the spirit water refining technique are extremely easy to identify. Among the 8 spirit-forging pills obtained from Failing Mountain, there were no traces of the spirit water refining technique. Moreover, although the effects of the spirit water refining technique are good, only one pill can be refined at a time. However, one still needs to prepare a batch of spiritual herbs, which is not worth it for refining the spirit-forging pill. Only those pills that are extremely difficult to refine or extremely special will use the spirit water refining technique. Tianqing Laozu was a little disappointed, but Tianfeng Laozu seemed to have already expected that Lu Ping would say this. He smiled and said, "That's good too. We are far inferior to you in terms of alchemy. It just so happens that there is still some time before the Fist Valley space opens. You can use this time to refine a batch of pills and see what the reason is." On the way back to his stone room, Lu Ping was thinking about the situation of the spirit-forging pill. His intuition told him that Tianfeng Laozu still had some things to say. Even if Tianfeng Laozu and Tianqin Laozu couldn't refine the spirit-forging pill with full effectiveness, these two grandmasters must have some guesses about the reason. However, he didn't know why Tianfeng Laozu didn't tell him and only wanted him to refine a batch of pills first. Could it be that he simply wanted to verify the level of the alchemy skills of Lu Ping and the two Laozu, or was it something else? Lu Ping's thoughts turned and he sat quietly in the stone room for a whole day. Only then did he adjust his state to the best. Then, he waved his hand and the Na Chuan cauldron turned into a huge cauldron that was half the height of a person and landed in the stone room. Dozens of jade boxes flew out from Lu Ping's sleeves. The spirit sealing talisman on the surface of the jade boxes dimmed one by one. The jade boxes opened, and various well-preserved spiritual herbs flew out of thin air and landed in front of Lu Ping. A few days later, the 3 Laozu came to the rock cave again. Although there was a seal that Lu Ping had set up at the door of the stone room, the fragrance of resentment still penetrated the stone room and filled the entire rock cave. Tianqing Laozu sniffed and fiercely inhaled 2 mouthfuls of the pill fragrance. His face was full of satisfaction. Then, he asked Tianshan Laozu, who was beside him, "Senior brother, how effective do you think this kid's spirit-forging pill will be?" Gua Tianshan Laozu hesitated for a moment and said, "If Master Fornax and junior sister Tianqin's guess is correct, this kid can really refine a complete spirit-forging pill. However, his success rate will definitely not be as high as Master Fornax and junior sisters." Tianqing Laozu smiled and said, "This kid must have a lot of cards up his sleeve. If you don't force him, you will never know what other tricks he has up his sleeve." Tianqing Laozu pondered for a moment and then asked Tianqing Laozu, "Senior brother, why didn't you tell him about Master Fornax and junior sister Tianqin's guess about the spirit-forging pill's medicinal properties? Why did you want him to refine the pill first?" Tianfeng Laozu's gaze was deep as he said, "It doesn't matter if I tell him or not. We just need to see the results of his refining." Tianqing Laozu was a little displeased. "Aren't you afraid that this kid will have second thoughts?" Tianfeng Laozu said confidently, "He won't." The reason why the spirit-forging elixir was called a half-step to the Dharma stage elixir was because the ratio and quantity of spirit herbs required to refine the elixir was similar to that of a half-step to the Dharma stage elixir. Furthermore, this elixir was only useful for core forging adepts and had no effect on Dharma adepts. However, the actual process of refining the spirit-forging pill was even more difficult than that of a normal Dharma stage pill. After a series of preliminary preparations, it was already 3 days later when Lu Ping was ready to ignite the cauldron. After that, he spent another 5 days meticulously refining the pellets. Finally, it was time to condense the pellets. Actually, Lu Ping had his own guesses about why Tianlu and Tianqin Laozu were unable to refine the spirit-forging pill. It was just that this guess was related to a secret technique that he had, so he did not want to say it out loud. There were 2 main reasons why Lu Ping had handed over the recipe for the minor forging pill to the sect. It seemed that it was really because of the purification secret technique. Lu Ping sighed inwardly. Could it be that he really had to teach this secret technique to the sect? The restriction at the door of the stone room gradually melted, and Lu Ping walked out of the stone room with a face full of joy and doubt. Tianqing Laozu was impatient, and he hurriedly asked, "How is it?" Lu Ping handed the jade essence bottle to Tianqing Laozu, and Laozu hurriedly opened the bottle to check. After a moment, he exclaimed, "It's done. It's 100% spirit forging pill, and there's no loss of medicinal efficacy." Chapter 714. Tianqing Laozu's exclamation made Laozu and Tian Shan Laozu happy. The three of them carefully examined the 3 spirit forging pills that Lu Ping had refined. After a while, Tian Feng Laozu let out a long sigh and said, "It really is a 100% spirit forging pill, there is not a single loss of medicinal efficacy." "Nephew Lu, how did you do it?" Tianqing Laozu and Tian Shan Laozu both looked at Lu Ping, but Lu Ping replied, "Disciple refined the spirit forging pill according to the recipe, there is no difference." "Martial uncle, does Master Tianlu and martial uncle Tianqin have any suspicions about this?" Lu Ping threw the question back at them. Tian Shan Laozu and Tianqing Laozu both looked at him. Tian Feng Laozu smiled and said, "It seems that Master Tianlu and martial sister Tianqin have guessed correctly. This spirit forging pill may have something to do with the water attribute cultivation method of your world." When Lu Ping heard that he didn't suspect anything else, he felt as if a huge stone had been lifted from his heart. But when he heard Tian Feng Laozu's and Tianqin's guesses, Lu Ping's expression froze. Tian Feng Laozu saw Lu Ping's expression and smiled, "What, you also thought of it?" When martial sister Tianqin heard that you knew the spirit water refining technique, she said that you might be able to refine the spirit forging pill. Master Tianlu thought that if you used the spirit water refining technique to refine the spirit forging pill, you would be able to refine a complete pill. But in terms of the various preparations needed to refine the spirit forging pill, it wouldn't be worth it. Lu Ping was originally conflicted about whether or not he should give the spirit forging technique to the sect. He didn't think that Tian Feng Laozu and the others didn't suspect that Lu Ping was hiding something, but that it was because of his water attribute cultivation method. Lu Ping's conflicted thoughts disappeared and his expression brightened. But in the eyes of Tian Feng Laozu and the others, Lu Ping also understood the reason, so he continued, "You should also know that the spirit forging pill refined by the spirit fire pill furnace will have some smoke and fire aura. Master Tianlu once carefully examined the spirit forging pill you brought back from Fei Ling Island, and there was indeed smoke and fire aura. This means that the spirit forging pill was definitely not refined using the spirit water refining technique. However, the smoke and fire aura in the spirit forging pill was extremely weak, so weak that most alchemy grandmasters can't do it. Therefore, Master Tianlu suspected that the person who could refine the complete spirit forging pill must be someone like you, who cultivated a water attribute cultivation method, but somehow became a genius in alchemy. Only in this way, during the process of refining the pill, can your water attribute true yuan offset the smoke and fire aura in the pill to the greatest extent." Tian Feng Laozu's words caused Lu Ping to sink into deep thought. He originally thought that the spirit forging pill was not effective because of the spirit forging technique, but now it seemed that the purification technique was only one of the reasons, and the attribute of his own cultivation method was another. And Tianlu Laozu and Tianqin Laozu didn't suspect him, they just wanted to verify their own conjectures through him, but they didn't expect Lu Ping to have the heart of a villain. Lu Ping smiled bitterly as he shook his head. His own alchemy skills would eventually be passed down in Jinling, and the spirit forging technique would definitely not be kept a secret by Lu Ping. However, he felt that now was not the right time. Moreover, even if Lu Ping wanted to pass down these things, he could only pass them on to his own disciples. It was impossible for him to tell the other alchemists in the pill pavilion. Lu Ping suddenly remembered that there were still 3 Laozus in front of him, and it was extremely inappropriate for him to be in such a daze. When he looked up, the 3 Laozus had already left the cave, and the 3 newly refined spirit-forging pills had already been taken by them. Lu Ping helplessly smiled bitterly. Tian Feng Laozu's meaning was very clear. From now on, the sect's spirit-forging pills would be entrusted to him alone to refine. Although the spirit-forging pill was heaven-defying, it also had many restrictions. For example, the spiritual herbs required to refine it were extremely rare, and the 10,000 Wonder Dew was even rarer. Moreover, it was limited to 3 pills, and there were also restrictions on the quality of the refined spiritual objects. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed and Lu Ping had concocted another 4 cauldrons of spirit-forging pellets. Other than the cauldron he had concocted before and the cauldron he had prepared himself, ancestor Tian Feng had also brought 3 cauldrons of spirit herbs and 3 drops of myriad wonder dew from Zhenling's sect. Zhenling's sect had prepared 5 cauldrons of spirit herbs for the spirit-forging pellets. The first 2 cauldrons were used by Sky Cauldron Ancestor and Sky Zither Ancestor respectively. But when the 2 discovered that their spirit-forging pellets were lacking in medicinal efficacy, they decisively gave up on the task. Instead, they asked enlightened Master Tian Feng to bring the remaining 3 cauldrons of spirit herbs to Lu Ping. Lu Ping had refined 4 batches of spirit-forging pills in a row. With the help of the amethyst royal jelly and the spirit explosion technique, he barely managed to maintain a success rate between 30% and 40%. In addition to the 3 spirit-forging pills he had refined in the first batch, he had refined a total of 17 spirit-forging pills. 11 of them were given to Tian Feng Laozu and the other 2, while Lu Ping kept 6 for himself. The Fist Valley's space was about to reopen, and Lu Ping had used up all the spiritual herbs he had for the spirit-forging pills. Thus, he once again headed downstream. In the Fist Valley's Grotto Heaven, the 3 Yingshan Immortal Academy 3rd Layer Blood Condensation Realm disciples were all injured and looked to be in a sorry state. 3 fist-sized bees with purple crystal heads were flying around the 3 of them while buzzing. At the feet of the 3 were 4 cultivators who were already dead. From their clothes, it was clear that they were cultivators from the Gu family. Clearly, the additional cultivators had gotten into a conflict with the 3 Yingshan Immortal Academy cultivators, but in the end, the Yingshan Immortal Academy disciples emerged victorious. An Immortal Academy disciple whose head wasn't that large, but whose body was extremely fat kicked the Gu family cultivator next to him, saying, "Pa, you even wanted to follow this old one to set up an ambush, not knowing that we already noticed you all a long time ago. However, senior son, your strength has increased again, actually using just a few moves to remove that person's head." A cultivator who wasn't tall but was obviously the leader frowned and said, "Junior brother Qian, stop fooling around. If it wasn't for Elder Xian Ping's 3 3rd-layer blood condensation realm bees and the talisman given by Elder Xian Ping, who knows how much effort it would take for us to kill these 4 people. Let's bury these people's corpses first. There are only a few days left before the Fist Valley's space closes. We can't fail miserably during this time and allow the other 2 sects' cultivators to track us using the corpses on the ground." Another Immortal Academy disciple, who was about 18 or 19 years old, collected the 4 people's storage pouches and laughed. "Ha, senior brother Sun, senior brother Qian, these 4 people really have a lot of good stuff on them. In total, there are more than 3,000 stalks of 500-year-old spiritual herbs and 7 to 800,000-year-old spiritual herbs. It seems that other than collecting the spiritual herbs themselves, these 4 people have probably killed and robbed quite a bit." Junior brother Qian, who had just stomped on the ground and created a 3-meter-wide pit, was overjoyed. "So much? Sigh. If it wasn't for the fact that we followed Elder Xian Ping's team's map to check a few places, the 3 of us might have gained more than them." Senior brother Sun, who was the leader, said unhappily, "Junior brother Qian, junior brother Zhou, Elder Xian Ping's matter is more important. Even if we don't gain anything this time, we still have to complete Elder Xian Ping's orders." Junior brother Qian laughed and said, Of course, of course. The four of them divided the spiritual herbs and took a few mid-grade magical artifacts according to their needs. However, they suddenly heard the buzzing sound of the three demonic bees suddenly become much louder. The three of them stared blankly for a moment, then became happy. Junior brother Qian said, "Could it be that the demonic bees have discovered something?" Senior brother Sun's face also showed a trace of joy as he said, "According to the secret map that Elder Xian Ping gave us, there should be a secret spirit herb garden here. The places that we had been to before were either wastelands or were cut off by spatial cracks. We have been searching for more than 2 months, but we have found very little. Now that the demonic bees are flying around, it is obvious that they have found something." Junior brother Zhou also said excitedly, "Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and let go of the demonic bees, then we'll follow them to find the spiritual herb garden." The three of them followed the route the three demonic bees took, carefully avoiding several spatial cracks. Suddenly, their eyes lit up. The three of them looked at the scene in front of them, and their faces immediately became sluggish. Junior brother Qian raised his trembling hand and pointed in front of him. He said, This is a 3,000-year-old spiritual herb garden." Senior brother Sun immediately reacted. He could not hide the excitement on his face. He said, "What are we waiting for? Let's first release the blood-refining realm demonic bee swarm that Elder Xian Ping gave us, then we'll harvest everything here. But don't forget to leave a portion of the spiritual herb seeds behind." In another corner of the spatial crack, Tian Yu hurriedly flew forward. This spatial crack also prohibited cultivators from flying, so all cultivators could only walk on the ground. Yingshan Immortal Academy's disciple in front, "Stop. Where can you run to?" A Mountain Universe Sex Level 3 Blood Condensation Realm cultivator chased closely behind Tian Yu, while the other 2 cultivators flanked him from both sides. Gradually, they forced Tian Yu into a corner of a spatial crack. Tian Yu had nowhere to run, so he turned around and faced the 3 cultivators in front of him. He was originally a level 6 blood condensation realm cultivator, but now that his cultivation was sealed, he was chased for hundreds of kilometers by these 3. In the end, he still could not escape. If he could survive this, he would definitely cultivate a few powerful spells and divine abilities when he returned to the Immortal Academy. Tian Yu's expression was filled with regret. He was only interested in alchemy. Although he had observed Taoist Xian Ping practicing the sword before, he did not put all of his attention on sword techniques like Wang Qi. He only practiced occasionally when he thought of it. Even so, if not for the few sword techniques that Lu Ping did not forget, Tian Yu would have been surrounded and killed by the 3 cultivators today. "Brat, your luck is not bad. Someone actually found a 3,000-year-old spiritual herb garden in that kind of place. You don't need the 3 of us to teach you what to do, right?" The leader of the group looked at the cultivator in front of him mockingly. 7th senior brother, although this guy's strength is ordinary, his sword techniques are very strange. Be careful not to fail miserably. Tian Yu silently took out a mid-grade flying sword. He had already made up his mind. If he could not withstand the 3 cultivators' attacks, he would break the seal on his cultivation. That way, the surrounding space would not be able to withstand the pressure of a mid-stage blood condensation realm cultivator, and it would collapse. He would not be able to escape death, and the 3 cultivators in front of him would be buried with him. Tian Yu already knew that since Taoist Xian Ping was so cautious in placing these secret maps, there must be a 3,000-year-old spiritual herb garden in them. Such a secret must not be known by the cultivators from the other 2 sections. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.